Can we skip the pre-stream load up this time? I feel bad. I want to cut being an hour late to being 40 minutes late, you know? What's up, everybody? Howdy. Bad? Yeah, I know. Sorry for not streaming yesterday. I had every intention of streaming yesterday, and I woke up and I was sick. I was sick. Um I just had a little bug. I think it might have been from my eating the other day. I ate too late. You shouldn't eat before going to bed, you know? It's just not good for you. I ate a lot. I was having fun. Um I just woke up feeling terrible. Had a headache, you know? Definitely couldn't stream. Nice shirt, Vunch. Thank you. Lovely Buck Mason shirt. How'd you know? Can't sleep on an empty stomach. Well, that's the thing though. You kind of can. The like there are so many food related tidbits of wisdom that we talk about that are just really incorrect, you know? Like the breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That shit is propaganda, brother. That's some like Kellogg's working with the FDA to make you eat more Fruit Loops shit. It is not at all. Not even a bit. I mean, you can have some coffee or whatever. I genuinely think that one of the big divides in like the American waistband versus the European waistband, it comes down to the conception of an American breakfast. Breakfast is the easiest meal to skip. Oh yeah, easily, yeah. Sleeping on an empty stomach is wonderful. No heartburn slash reflux. Yeah, I try to just have a yogurt and a coffee for breakfast. Though at the moment, unfortunately, I'm out of the yogurt that I like. I need to go get some today. I'm a big yogurt fiend. Really in my yogurt era, getting pretty like yogurt pilled. I started skipping breakfast, barely noticed it. I genuinely think that like people don't need breakfast. Y'all get heartburn. If you eat a big dinner and then go to bed right after, you are basically guaranteeing that you get heartburn. Like you're wearing out your I don't know what the term is, but that muscle that closes off your esophagus from your stomach. Because so your stomach is normally really, really small and it expands when you eat. And your esophagus, you know, like goes like it's the pipe that brings the chewed up food down to your stomach, right? And if you lay down after you have a big meal, the weight of the contents of your, yeah, the esophageal sphincter, thank you. The weight of the contents of your stomach, it weighs against the esophageal sphincter, and that's what causes heartburn. That's the feeling you get of the like burning feeling at the base of your throat. That's the content of your stomach pressing along with stomach acid, pressing against um the esophageal sphincter, and it can make you nauseous. I have medication for that. Okay, but the medication just neutralizes the stomach acid. That's not the that doesn't really like fix the problem, you know? Like all that does is kind of like, you know, your esophageal sphincter is being attacked by the contents of your stomach. Let me like toss a Tums in there, you know? You can also take medication that reduces the amount of stomach acid you make. I used to have a big issue with heartburn because I didn't understand that there was a relationship between me eating right before bed and me having it because I'm an idiot. And okay, this is a little bit gross, but I'm going to tell you anyway in confidence. Don't tell the whole internet, okay? I'm just telling you. But like, there are these pills you can take. I forget what they're called. Are they called like Zyrtec or something? I don't know what their name is. I think it starts with a Z. I don't remember. And it's not Tums. So what Tums does, what normal antacids do, is exactly what it sounds like. Antacid, anti-acid. It counters the acidity of your stomach acid. But there's a pill you can take that reduces the amount of stomach acid that you produce, like in general, you know? And I took a small amount of it because I wanted to not have heartburn, and I started getting really nauseous and I threw up a few times, and the food that I was throwing up was like undigested, and that's because my body was literally not fucking producing stomach acid. There was nothing, like the digestive process had stopped in the stomach, which is really weird to think about. So my body wisely understanding, that something was going wrong. Just fucking threw the undigested food up. Ew, gross, you took way too much. I took the minimum possible dose. I took one pill a day. I didn't take too much. I took half of what the thingy recommended for me, you know? I guess my body's just super susceptible to it. Anyway, like the solution to this ended up just being to not eat a fucking huge meal before bed. As you know, just don't do that. Don't have a huge breakfast and don't eat a huge meal right before you go to sleep. You should intermittent fast. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of feel like internet intermittent fasting is a meme, is Reddit. I think it's Reddit pilled. Anytime anybody tells me about like a dietary secret, I think it's completely full of shit. Like basically every time. Um, like we know how dieting work. It's like here's the keto, here's the warrior diet, here's intermittent fat, and it's just like it's all these cycles. Like no, finally after 5 million years of people trying to lose weight, this is it. Like and I don't know. Like if you want to lose weight, yeah, like skip breakfast, maybe just have a coffee. I don't know. Like yeah, some techniques are easier for certain people. That is true, but it's not like a secret. It's just what works for you. Whatever's easier for you. You know? That's why people like technically losing weight is all calories in, calories out, right? But in reality, where grown-ups live, how easy dieting is isn't about like the raw number of calories. It's about how hungry you are, man. Different people are different amounts of hungry. Like that's not a skill issue thing. That is literally like sometimes that's just biological, man. Sometimes that's environmental, but you don't really control that. If you like imagine you have two people, both of them need to eat 2,000 calories a day to lose weight. One of them is way hungrier than the other. That's not like a skill issue thing. That other guy's just going to have a harder time. That person's hungrier. They're going to suffer more in reducing the amount of food they consume, you know? So, yeah, it is calories in, calories out, but that doesn't mean everyone's fighting the same fight, you know? That's like saying like, bro, mountain climbing is easy. You look at the mountain, then you climb it. It's like everyone has to climb the same mountain, so it's equally hard for everyone. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. Some people are more fit than others. Some people are heavier than others. Some people have like ankle issues, you know? Yes, Luke McAdams, there are like other variables to factor in, but like as a general rule, it's calories in, calories out. You shouldn't like overcomplicate a good thing unless you have some specific dietary issues, you know? I feel like sometimes people overthink this stuff when in reality it can be pretty simple for most people, you know? So the solution is nationalizing Novo Nordisk and having free Ozempic. I do not trust the Ozempic scheme at all. And it's not because it doesn't work, and it might not even be because it has negative consequences. I just don't I just you realize you're going to be on Ozempic forever then, right? Like as soon as you're off the Ozempic, you're just going to gain the weight. Like is that really the right way of doing it? You stop with the men. It's like, oh, okay, gain the weight again. I don't know. It's like your hunger is going to go back up. I feel like the solution here, it has to be you have to adjust to a lifestyle change. The Virgin Ozempic versus the Chad amphetamines. Well, I don't think you should get on Adderall just to lose weight either. Well, that's what I mean, Senator J. Fortnite. You need to make a lifestyle change. Yeah, Vermin. It's like really in vogue right now, as a dietary suppressant. I just like at the end of the day, being fit or being skinny or whatever the fuck, like it's not a thing you do, it's a lifestyle that you live. It's a consequence of lifestyle choices. And I don't think there's a moral weight to that. Like if you're chill being like a skinny fat dude who's like 160 pounds, but you have 11-inch circumference arms, then yeah, go for it, whatever. Um, yeah, no, I think it is embarrassing, Vermin. I don't think it meaningfully helps in a lot of cases too, because after they get off the drug, they're just gonna go back. The Ozempic thing is like what, 1 year old? Like people like widespread using it for weight loss, and they're gonna get off the Ozempic, and it's gonna be like, oh, I gained weight again. It's just like people who get liposuction. A lot of people get liposuction, and then they just gain the weight back Because what, of course that was going to happen. You got the liposuction, you got rid of the fat that was there. What about the next meal you eat? Like, you were already living a life that gave you that fat. So now you need to get that stomach band thing. No, the stomach band doesn't work either, because eventually you take it off. Neither does the stomach stapling thing, where you like only use a portion of your stomach so you feel full afterwards. Like, all of these methods, these shortcuts to losing weight, eventually they stop, and it just comes down to your lifestyle, you know? I had a friend that got in that Ozempic stuff right now and lost like 60 pounds in a month. There's no way your friend lost 60 pounds a month. I don't. The human body can't metabolize unless your friend is like an Olympic swimmer. The human body cannot metabolize 60 pounds of fat in a month. Um, they're feeding you some bullshit. Lost a limb? Yeah, yeah. They took Ozempic and like they actually were diabetic. Like the Ozempic wasn't even for weight loss; it was for the diabetes. They had to get both legs amputated. That's how they lost 60 pounds in a month. Yeah. But Vosh, it's easier to take drugs. I hate to do, you know, that awful quote, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. I think that that's a really bad quote because skinny is like such an ugly word. You know, I will say this though. I don't think that any like shortcut to weight loss feels as good or has as good of an impact as fitness oriented behavior in your day-to-day life feels. Like, there is no pill or like fad diet or treatment or whatever that can give you that feeling of wellness that you get by going on a 20-minute walk 3 times a week. I mean it, guys. Like, even a moderate amount of exercise 3 to 4 times a week gives you like a robust, like it gives you like a physical wellness in many cases that is just not matched by any artificial external solution. I'm not moralizing it. I'm not saying like being fat is a moral failing, therefore you must suffer to remove it. I'm not, like, I don't give a shit. If there was like a magical way to make you more fit, fuck yeah, dude, absolutely. Are you kidding? Why hold ourselves back if that was on the table? But there isn't. When it comes to fitness, like, I'm afraid there just isn't a way of getting around, like, you know, yeah, man, you got to go on walks sometimes. Yeah, Nerodia, I'm not saying that it has no use at all. Though I don't know if you could say there has been a drastic drop off in mortality rate via obesity related illness, because I don't know how much like data we have on Ozempic being used as a weight loss tool. Would be nice if our society was designed around walking. Yeah, it would, and I got a lot of walking exercise in Spain, but you know what? Like, you can still walk. Let's not make like little baby whiny baby carriage fetuses out of ourselves, you know? Let's not go like wah, like, you know, my city isn't walkable, therefore I have no choice. Like, you do. You can walk around. You don't literally live like your driveway does not connect to a non-sidewalked highway underpass. You know, you have the ability to walk places. Late last year, I decided to turn my life around. Daily 20-minute walk every day of the week for 100 days. Now I have the habit and it's life-changing. It's amazing. Yeah, even a little walk. Yeah, exactly, Vermin. Yeah, but another thing that people don't understand, by the way, and I'm making like a purely aesthetic appeal, this one is specifically for the fellows, okay? The difference between being a little bit fat and being skinny fat is massive. Absolutely massive. You've seen the difference between like a fat guy who looks fit and a fat guy who looks schlubby, and that's just the layer of muscle underneath. Not only, I'm not only talking like fitness, like feeling good, because you can have fat on you and feel good. Of course you can. Like having 40 extra pounds on you makes you unhealthy. No, that's bullshit. Obviously, you can be fit. Usually people who live fit lifestyles are relatively skinny just because being fit tends to lose you weight, but that's just a correlation thing. You know, you can be overweight and be fit, like all your organs can be strong and healthy, but like in an aesthetic sense, you know, one of the reasons that I look good generally, like figure wise, it's not even like a an effort thing or whatever. I have broad shoulders and a big barrel chest, so even though I'm like kind of fat, I convey the impression of like a strong, stocky, like bulky guy, and I have known the difference between people who are like skinny fat, where it just looks like fat's hanging off of a skeleton, and they just being like bulky, you know? And it's a huge difference. Like, all I'm saying is that it's not all about having abs, you know? Girls don't even care about abs. Are any straight maxers in chat? Any straight people? You know, girls, seriously, I can't. This might be a confirmation bias thing because obviously any girl who was really into abs probably wouldn't hook up with me. I like, you know, girls are, you know, they love them fat boys, is what I'm saying. Love that shit. Who cares about abs in 2024? We're talking about arms and ass. Exactly. It's always two smart bitches telling each other. Exactly. It's all about the arms and ass. I like me some chest, you know? I think it's pretty good too. A nice Yummy Assassin. Congratulations on your weight loss. How do you feel about giant muscular women? I think that people with giant muscle mommy fetishes should probably consume a little bit less pornography. I think you're in the same category. It's funny because it's the most Reddit sexual preference in the world in both directions. Muscle mommies and femboys. Two groups of people that don't exist in real life. I'm sorry, you might find some cosplayers at Anime Expo, and I have, thank you. But day to day, you know, you're living your life. I'm really sorry. Unless you're doing all you're picking up at the anime cons, these are not archetypes of people. You would have more luck finding goth girls, frankly. So I feel a little bit bad for you if your entire, like, sexual identity is built around, you know, characters that exist almost entirely online as part of, like, cosplay. Um, I mean, dude, femboys are so rare that 90% of the sex workers who pose as them are trans women. Like, it's like, yeah. Who could have thought that people born men who are really into being feminine, that a lot of them might actually end up being trans women. So like, you know, I'm all and like, you know, with the muscle mommy thing, like, I'm sorry, the average chick's still gonna be like 5'6", you know. I mean, honestly, if you want like muscular women, probably trans women are the way to go too, because some of them still work out and they're like 6 foot or whatever. These are still not like likely groups of people that you're going to just find on the dating apps unless you live in some very specific areas. Don't have to be tall to be a muscle mommy. No, but the original question from chat was like tall muscle mommy or something. I read recently that 30 minutes of walking per week reduces risk of heart disease / stroke by 40%. Yeah, and this is the thing too, and I'm calling you guys out right now. When you read that, or when I say stuff like, yeah, go on a 20-minute walk like 3 or 4 times a week, you guys are thinking in your head, oh, that's easy. Man, I can't, because I know you're thinking like, oh man, I can't believe so many Americans struggle with obesity and heart disease and shit like that, when all you have to do is go on like a medium walk a couple times a week. And then you fuckers don't do it. Then you don't go on the walk. I know you. You're thinking like, oh man, that's so easy. That's such a low bar to clear, obviously. And then you just sit in your room all day and don't do anything. That's the thing. You have to actually do it. You know, it's not enough to just sort of rotate a 3D model of doing a 20-minute walk in your mind and going like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. You know, that'd be easy. Actually, I could do that. I could do that easily. Skill issue. Like, it is a skill issue, and you're losing. You know, you're getting outskilled by like a 58-year-old divorced man who goes on a run every morning at 6 a.m. in your neighborhood. That guy is styling on you. Like, right now, that guy, like, what is it right now? It's exactly noon where I am. Right now, that guy is like 3/4 of the way through the errands and work that he has to do. It's noon. He's 58, you know? He's had like one heart surgery in his life, and it turned his life around. He's been working out like every day ever since. He's styling on you right now. And what are you? You're 23. You think, oh man, I could get it together any day now. But you don't. You feel a little bit bad when you look in the mirror. You theoretically have the energy and the like level of physical fitness necessary to get back into shape like you were at some indeterminate point in the past. But you just haven't done it yet, you know? It's a skill issue, folks. You gotta get into it, okay? You gotta get into it. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Vash's predilection for appealing to the cuckold. I'm not talking about cuckold insecurity. I'm just saying you have to do the shit. It's not enough to think of the shit. You have to do the shit, you know? Actions speak louder than words. What would you suggest for motivation then? What motivates you? Um, Holding it over your guys' heads? Nah, I just want to be hot. Who gives a fuck about being healthy, yo? I just like having thick ass thighs. Bro, I got some linen trousers the other day that I have half a mind to show you. These things drape like suiting trousers, but they're made out of loomed linen. And when I move in them, because they're linen and light, you can see my leg muscles through them when I stand or when I sit or move around at some angles. Because like the fabric drapes over my thighs and the muscles show through it, even though it's a thick material. That's what I'm here for, baby. Aesthetics is the best motivation for me personally. That's fine. You know, I don't think that's shallow. That's normal. Whatever. What leg muscles, Mr. Costochondritis? What does that mean? What does my costochondritis have to do with my leg muscles? I've gotten baited by this like 50 times, man. Like somebody in chat will be like, "Bro, you don't have any leg muscles." And then I stand and then because I'm an idiot, I stand up and flex my leg muscles, which are like I would say for somebody who literally doesn't exercise except for occasionally going on a walk, my leg muscles are pretty fucking goated with the sauce. And then people in chat are like, "Oh, you got baited, you got baited." It's like, yeah, I'm the like reliably. How does Hassan do it, man? Because I feel like if I had Hassan's body, somebody in chat would be like, "Yo, your glutes aren't even that developed," and then I would just start like frantically stripping in front of the camera, being like, oh yeah, bro," and like flex the bubble. I don't know. It's like maybe I'm just really easy to bait. How far walk? Whenever I go on a walk, it's usually for like an hour. I just get really into the stuff that I'm this is me being Reddit core again, but honest to God, when I'm walking, I'm either listening to podcasts or I'm listening to like fucking anime or video game music that I'm imagining like to situations that may or may not happen in Dungeons and Dragons games that I'm currently DMing. You know, that's my shit. That's my fuel. Okay, I'm walking around thinking like, yeah, man, it'll be like this, and then an hour passes. Good podcast recommendations. I mean, I'm a huge fan of well, there's your problem. I like the 5-4 podcast. I've been meaning to get into Trash Future, but my goal is to get into podcasts that are exclusively managed and performed by people who fucking despise me. So, we need to do Trash Future. I'm a fan of Kill James Bond, we need to like be an irritant in the minds of these people to know that like they produce content thinking that I'm like Hitler too. But I actually like their content. So what does that say about them? Behind the Bastards. Oh yeah, he hates me. Robert Evans, he doesn't like me. The Chapo Boys don't like me, but I don't listen to the Chapo Boys. The Chapo Boys, listen, okay, the Chapo Boys, they're the enemy of life, okay? They want you to be complacent. They want you to be doomer. They want you to be smarmy. Okay, we need to be sincerity pilled. Lions led by donkeys. Yeah, they're good. They're good. They're good. Yeah. Though it is hard to listen to a Lions Led by Donkeys podcast while walking because they get into I'm not saying they're light on the comedy. It's just you can have like 7-minute periods where I'm hearing about like formation tactics or yeah, this specific thing happened at this specific site at this specific time. And it can be a little bit hard to follow when I'm also trying not to get hit by cars walking around. Yeah, but Robert Evans not liking you is funny because he just won't fess up to it that he just doesn't like you. This is the thing. I think Northern Lion said this, and I've never agreed with anything more in my life. People need to stop rationalizing their feelings as much. If you dislike something or somebody, you should just say that. Like it's okay to say, I don't like X or I don't like Y. I don't like this person. I don't like this thing. I don't like that thing without needing to like argue the case. You can just say it. I don't like X food. Period. Like you don't have to say you don't have to elaborate on it in any way. I don't like this band. I don't like this. I don't like that. Or contrarily, I do like this. That's the difference though. When people say they like something, they rarely feel the need to say why. You know, they'll just say, "Oh, I really like that. I really like this." It kind of stands on its own as a statement. Whereas if they say like, "I don't like this," there is a compulsion to follow it up with an explanation for why. And I think that like we could do that a little bit less. You know, why does it matter? If a guy doesn't like French toast, I don't care why they do. They can just like if they feel the need to offer that opinion, they can just say that. They don't. I don't need to know that it's because of a thing, because they think the thing feels like another thing or it's too meh. I don't care. But so why do they feel the need to say it? Why do I feel the need to say it? To say it, you know? Yeah, let people not enjoy things. That's okay. I actually got into a situation where I had to defend liking a movie of the weekend. My only argument was I just like it. I think that's good. If you want to have a conversation about why you like or dislike something, that's fine. Then talk about it. But you don't need to reflexively offer it. It comes across a little bit defensive to me. Like, if you dislike something, you're innately on the defensive. You then have to like rationalize it to an audience because otherwise your dislike comes across as irrational or arbitrary. You know? We have to bring yum yucking back to the normies. That's true. We've listen, okay. We've had enough of normalizing. It's time to stigmatize. Hard to justify or denounce political opinion. I'm not talking about political opinions. I'm just talking about things. Political opinions are issues of debate and import for a reason. Like, oh, I like, I like racism. Well, wow, that's great. Want to share why? That's not the same as like disliking French toast. Also, the others shouldn't demand an explanation of why they don't like the thing. Well, I mean, if it's in good humor, I think that's okay, right? As long as it's being done with good intention, like if somebody's curious why you don't like a thing that other people like, that's fine. Don't be weird about it. If you want to talk about it, you can. Your opinion on the cinema wins versus cinema sins philosophy of consuming media. I'm not going to be the 5 millionth guy to say that cinema sins is a garbage channel because you all know that it is, and I would be like, there's nothing in it for me. Everyone's already said it, and they're right. Cinema sins is awful. Cinema wins is fine because it's okay to be optimistic like that. That is the difference between like if you're making media critiquing something, like your critiques matter, right? And it's not like the CinemaSins guy is just saying, I dislike this movie. He's like, I disliked it for this reason, that reason, and the reasons are horseshit. I think it's okay to be a little bit more trivial with why you like something because there is, I think, an innate moral difference between negatively critiquing and positively praising something on like flimsy justifications. It would be okay to say, like I like this movie because of the, but if you were to say like no, I dislike this movie because of the, like the triviality of the matters a lot more for the second one. Vosh, you said I don't like this person as an example, and I think that's insane. Not liking a person for no rational reason is an awful thing to do. I mean, like a public figure. What the? Wait, hold on. You can dislike a person just based on vibes. Don't project your insecurities onto me. If somebody dislikes your vibes, like you're not going to like argue them out of it or whatever. Like that, it's not a rational process. If you dislike somebody, you dislike somebody. I mean, obviously, if you're all in like a shared friend group and somebody randomly is like, yeah, I dislike this other person in our friend group with no explanation given, like that kind of warrants one. But if you just want to randomly say like, oh, this public figure, or oh, this other person who's like, outside the current social context, I don't care for them, um, you don't need to like supply a rational reason for that. It is what it is. I think that's kind of shallow, though. Why are you pretending that it's a choice? If you don't like a person, you don't like a person. I'm sorry, do you make the choice to like or dislike things? I don't, that's not typically how my thoughts work. Usually, if I like or dislike something, it's kind of like an emotional response that I have to it. And the rationalization is usually like a post hoc effort to justify it. This is what I mean by like the need to justify. Sometimes it is just a vibes thing. I think it would be a lot better if people would own up to the fact that it's a vibes thing sometimes. I think that a lot of the reason people dislike me is a vibes thing. They see like a loud white guy. you know, with like a beard and the confident, ooh, he's a masculine, or he tells people what's right and what's wrong, and they get a bad vibe from it. And then they're like, well, I can't just say it's a bad vibe. I have to like construct an alternate universe where this guy's a chauvinist or whatever. I think that if people were honest about the vibe thing, it would actually be a lot better, you know? This is a pretty childish way of seeing things. Thank you, Casimiros, for your first message in chat. I'm glad you cared enough about the subject to leave YouTube chat to join us to share that excellent opinion. Would you like to like explain how? Because the idea that for the most part people form their feelings on others or on subjects based on like a set of emotional responses to it and then post hoc justify it as a way of rationalizing it, that's like a fact. That's not a childish way of looking at things. That's just how you are. That's how you are. If you dislike that about yourself and you're mad at me for bringing it to your attention, like that's not, or maybe you don't like the fact that I'm saying this because like you had a bad experience with a friend group or an ex and you don't like the idea that there's some kind of borderline innate irrational emotional underpinning to whatever set of excuses each of you gave the other for why things went down the way they did. You know, I don't know how this is my fault though. Yeah, when people rationalize, they double down on shitty takes. If people were honest about the vibe, then that would be a lot better. That'd be more honest. Yeah, Vermin, I think you should be introspective about why you do or don't dislike things. I'm just saying that I don't like the idea that people presume that it's like a rational function of their faculties, you know, like they think about it and they consider it and they're like, I am going to logically deduce that I dislike or that I like this thing based on X or Y. People don't really work that way. Also, Tempest, are you still in chat? Super chats are still turned off. How the fuck do I hold on? Super chat. There we go. Turned it back on. Nice. Super chat's now enabled. It was turned off because of the, I don't know if that works for this stream though. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's cool. I'll survive. My bank account will survive. My point is it isn't. It's an immediate mental thing we should analyze. Yes, that I agree with. You should be introspective about why you have those feelings, but that's not the same as rationalizing, right? Introspection and rationalization in a lot of cases are actually the opposite because the reflexive desire to rationalize a feeling can often lead you to dishonestly assume that it's for better reasons than you might otherwise think, you know? Shouldn't our rationality be able to override our emotions? That's not what we're that's like, respectfully, that's like a very childish way of thinking about it. Your emotional feelings on something aren't subject to your rational analysis of it. Your rational, like these aren't like competing forces in your body or whatever. They both handle different things. What you like or dislike is an emotional thing, you know? If you dislike a person, do you think like, no, I should be able to rationally like them, and then you like ration yourself into liking them? Like that doesn't make any sense, you know? Um, these are complementary experiences that handle different things. We have to be careful when the emotional stuff interferes with our like rational assessment of the world, and we have to be careful when our like efforts to rationalize get in the way of an honest emotional experience. Unquestionably accepting and acting out in immediate likes and dislikes is an ideal. I'm not saying unquestionably. I'm saying don't rationalize it. Like don't pretend that it's all being done for some logical reason that you construct to make yourself and your feelings feel like, bro, if you dislike somebody for some like arbitrary, unfair reason, that's life. Say you don't like somebody because you think their voice is annoying or their face reminds you of the face of somebody that you don't like. That's life. You don't have to fight through that. Like you aren't obligated to have that feeling and then go like it's wrong though. No, it's not wrong. That's not wrong. That's life. You can just like or dislike things. That's life. Those are reasons though. Yeah, but those aren't the reasons. That's not rationalizing. Well, okay, okay. Guys, you realize that rationalizing isn't the same as thinking about things, right? Rationalizing is when you try to justify something irrespective of whether what you're saying is true or reflective of the underlying reasons. So you might not like a guy's vibe because his face just feels kind of off, or maybe reminds you in some vague subconscious way of something that you don't like. And you might then go, yeah, I didn't like him because he gave me kind of a toxic vibe. Like he seemed to me like, maybe a bit sexist the way that he talked to me. No, he didn't. He was fine. That's you rationalizing. You had a totally emotion-based reaction to how he looked, and you didn't, because you didn't want to come across as shallow. You didn't want to say, yeah, I didn't like his vibe because of his face, because that makes you look awful. So then you're like, well, no, actually, it's because of some behavioral thing. I have a justified reason for not liking him. But that's a lie. That's dishonest. Now, I still encourage you to be introspective about why you dislike the guy, but do you understand the difference between rationalizing and thinking about it? Aren't those post hoc? Yes, rationalizations are post hoc. Chat isn't ready to hear this applies to people's opinions of them too. Yeah, nobody likes to think, nobody likes to be perceived, Nobody likes to think like, yeah, man, no matter how hard you try, sometimes people can just dislike you for no reason and there's nothing you can do about it. That's how it is. No, this is not the bear in the woods thing. This just seems like it validates the trust your gut way of interacting with people. No, this has nothing to do with that. That's about the idea that there might be rational reasons to your emotional response. That's a totally different thing. Never seen Chappie so Reddit brain. I feel like I have a very Reddit coded community sometimes. Trusting your gut is 100% valid. Well, no, not always, Well, let's not bring back the lynch mob. We're not talking about trusting your gut. We're talking about rationalizing your emotional response to people or to things. The trusting your gut thing is a different thing. Yeah, you have to understand where your emotions come from. Loads of people hate Vosh because he's confident. Dude, that shit literally happens all the time. That happened with the man versus bear discourse because me saying, hey, a lot of women are paranoid of men and have good reason to be, and a bunch of men responded to that by going like, wow, so Vosh thinks it's okay for like women to be racist against men, or like, wow, Vosh thinks it's okay to be like biased against men, or Vosh thinks it's okay, like thinks men are bad. What about like black people? What about like, what if I was black? I'm not, I'm white, and I grew up in the suburbs, and I've never experienced any kind of racial like oppression, but like, what if TTS?
TNO donated $25. Sergey Tabarisky TikTok.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea where that's coming from. Is that from the Act Blue link? But I have that turned off. Interesting. Well, here, let me remove this then. I have it turned off. Maybe the audio gets like routed through a different... That's interesting. You never know how this stuff's going to work. Here, I can remove that, and I can remove it here too. And I'll just keep it in the other scene, and that should be fine. There we go. Be quiet, the demons are speaking, we must receive them. Yeah, what do you mean TTS? I didn't hear that. Did you guys hear that? You must be crazy. It's a pathologic wallpaper art panda bear. It's part of a set. I really like it. Disliking someone is a choice, IMO. That's just straight up false, and you're lying. That's not true at all. Treating somebody nicely or poorly is a choice. Like how you treat people, how you act is always a choice. how you feel about something is not. That's the whole thing to therapy, right? You can't control your feelings. You can control how you process those feelings and act on them. So you can have a strong negative feeling and you can either act on it or you can think like, okay, like let's say that you're a victim of sexual violence and you see somebody at a party who looks like your rapist. And they're not. They're a totally different person, you know, but you see them and you feel immediately like negative about it, you know? Now that negative feeling you have is not your choice or control. That's happening either way, right? So you can then respond to that by like thinking. So you can do the wrong thing and rationalize, and you can think like, oh, that guy must be like the rapist or whatever. Or you can think like, okay, this is like an emotional thing, da da da, and you can choose to act in a certain way. But if you chose that, this example is insane. I mean, it might be to like a 14-year-old boy who's never in any like spoken to anyone. Maybe when you grow up and learn how to talk to women, they might share some experiences with you that might you like they can make you reflect on the perceived insanity of the situation. You can choose, by the way, to be like normal to that person who looks like the rapist, or you can choose to like not interact with them. Both of them are fine. Those are both valid. You don't have to overcome that negative feeling. That feeling's a feeling. The feeling is real. People always say, "Oh, your emotions aren't real." That's not true. They literally are. You're feeling them. Your feelings are material. What do you mean? This is like that's a material force right there, you know? You can act on that. You know, like, oh, well, feelings aren't real. Your choices are. Well, yeah, your choices are real, but your feelings are too. And if your feelings tell you, like, even if it's irrational, like, yeah, that guy feels like bad vibes or whatever, like, that's fine. That's okay. Live your shit, you know? Don't, like, make yourself uncomfortable forcing yourself to only have rational reasons to, like, nobody lives like that. Nobody lives like that. Does that mean facts care about your feelings? I mean, yeah. I mean, we make factual moral prescriptions based off people's feelings all the time, right? A whole bunch of our like social etiquette, social contract, moral code is about being kind to people and being like mutually trusting so that we can sort of like rely on others to help us as well. And all of these are dependent on the completely intersubjective emotional biases that humans have towards certain experiences over others. So basically, you can validate the feeling without rationalizing it. Yeah, well, you can acknowledge it and you can try to understand it. It's not really about validating, I think. It's just about, like, don't pretend that it's something you have to fight against necessarily. Or maybe it is. Maybe it is something you have to fight against. This really depends on the circumstances, right? Like, if you've had an experience with sexual violence and there's a guy who looks like the guy that hurt you, you don't have to think like, okay, time to subject myself to a bunch of emotional turmoil by proving to myself that I'm capable of being normal to this one guy who just happens to look like the other guy. You don't have to do that. But if you've, say, for example, been like traumatically assaulted or mugged by a like black guy or whatever, and you now have some sort of lingering anxieties about black people, there might genuinely be some social and moral utility in you trying to overcome that bias. There's not much social utility in like, okay, I need to be better towards the people who randomly happen to look like a rapist versus like, okay, I have literally ascribed one negative experience to an entire racial group. Those are different. It's kind of a case by case thing. You have to choose whether or not you want to fight those feelings and whether or not it's worthwhile and valid. And that's. Wait, Contra said this exact thing. Yeah, I taught it to her. No, Antifa private, it is not. Yeah, wizardry. Again, it depends on whether or not those feelings are even like worth meaningfully challenging. Hey, Merrick. Yeah, fucking this shit happens, man. Also, hello. Long time no talk. Yeah, no, this shit happens. It's a real issue. Whether or not you want to do anything about it, uh, I mean, that's a personal battle. I don't think you can like construct a larger moral argument for or against any particular take on that. What if someone's a doctor and their patient has an annoying, stupid face? Should they turn off the ventilator? Yeah, I think as a doctor, you should be able to unplug people if they're being kind of annoying. Follow your vibe. Yeah, you don't rationalize your favorite color. Did anyone else have like friends in high school who would be like that though, where they would be like, yeah, my favorite color is purple because it reminds me of the like royal like purple of the Roman Empire. And it's like, what do you mean? You like purple because you think it's pretty. Don't like if you randomly found out that actually it wasn't purple dye that the royals used. It was like indigo, and indigo meant blue back then. Like nowadays we associate it with purple, but it's not like it meant like dark blue or whatever. Um, would you stop liking purple? And if so, was it even your favorite color? To be fair, there are some that would change for that. Yes, I think that's weird. I like burgundy because I like burgundy. Now we got everyone showing off their favorite color. Okay. Wait, so your fave call is that shade of brown? Burgundy is a shade of red. I mean this? This is brown. It's like a coffee colored? Light coffee? I don't know. Brown is a shade of red, TBH. Okay, everything is a shade of everything. It's not like there's an objective line that describes the difference between any wavelength of color and any other wavelength of color. It's all kind of like a blurry mess. All right. Yeah, brown is dark orange. But orange is just a yellowish red. Hmm. Hmm. Why wouldn't you link it, Reagan and the Monkey? Or in the money? But orange is dark red? What are you talking about? What are the three primary colors again? Like purple, black, and the other one. The final primary, it's purple, black, and green. Those are the three primary colors. You can make any other color with those colors. Depends on the color space. Yeah. White is all light bands, but the absence of pigment. Yeah, it depends on whether you're producing the photons or reflecting the photons. Yeah. Magenta, cyan, and green versus red, blue, and yellow. Again, it depends on the color space. Color is a psychological is it's an optical it's a psychological phenomena as we process optical data. We have no idea if dogs and cats see the same colors that we do. Okay, we know they see like some of the wavelengths that we do. We don't know how their brains process it. We have no idea. Color is vibes. I mean, kind of. What about color theory? Color theory is one of those things where you're in second grade, like you're in elementary school art class, and you're like, I get it. When you mix yellow and red, you get orange. I get color theory. And then you realize there are people who have PhDs who are still like mapping out the outer edges of color theory. You have people that are like making algorithms to normalize regular RGB space into like color like vibrancy normalized. There's like YouTube videos on this shit. Um it's very cool. Oh god, yeah, Vermin, I don't know. It's fucking ridiculous. It's insane how crazy it is. There are YouTube videos on this even. Yeah, I know. Crazy. Can find anything on YouTube these days. Thank you, Reagan. We know the language you speak can change how you view colors. Well, it changes where you draw the lines and what is like red or blue or whatever, yeah. It reminds me of that excellent fucking tweet from that turf where somebody gave them a spectrum from red to blue that was brown in the middle and was like, how many colors are there in this image? And the turf was like, there are clearly two colors, red and blue, when there was like fully, objectively, an entire spectrum of colors in the middle, you know. Remarkable stuff. Oh yeah, 2D Siggy, I know this guy. Yeah, the Minecraft color theory in
American people.
The geologist guy, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Really interesting stuff here. You know, one of the things that they don't here really quick. One of the things that we don't. Why is their audio playing? Why? From what source is the audio? Okay, I muted it. What was the audio? What was the audio? White House tab? Why did that play? At no point did my Google Chrome open that tab. It was never tabbed to it. I have the add-on that auto pauses. Why did that happen? It was C-SPAN, yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want you guys to hear like random, yeah, tech demons. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Anyway, I think this stuff is really cool. Even though in a okay. So the way cameras work is we have light sensitive are they the diodes? Is that the right? There are little thingies that register how many photons in each wavelength hit the sensor, and that's how we get a feeling for what color looks like in a photograph. But human eyes don't see it the same way that a computer sees it, because our eyes are more sensitive to certain photons than others. And as a consequence of that, here, hold on, this is so cool. Really quick. OK Lab in Minecraft.
Welcome back. What is a perceptually uniform color space? Why does it exist? How does it apply to Minecraft? And why is a geologist talking to you about it? These are all great questions, and I'll answer 3 of them.
Artemy.
Understanding color spaces is very important if you're doing anything with color. Even if that is just editing a photo on your phone, it helps to understand what's actually happening behind the veil. For me, they've become a tool, and the more I learn
We're
about
looking at
them,
Minecraft color theory geologist
in Minecraft,
videos. This is
understanding
very
color spaces
important.
can really help you with builds or understanding why.
Wait, hold on. Where's the video where he switches? Here we go. I think it's... Where's the video where he shows you what it looks like he switches to it from the other one?
Hello, and welcome back to another. We have the tertiary colors, so 6 of those in total. So RGB isn't necessarily the easiest for humans to deal with numbers-wise. It's hard to look at the numbers now. Welcome back.
Here, show me the difference in the perceptual color space.
Depend on yellow, black down at the bottom, up to white up at the top. And then there's the A axis, which is the magenta and green axis. And then the B is from blue all the way over to yellow. And since we're only dealing with colors that are reproducible in the RGB space, you can still make out the RGB square kind of distorted into the OK Lab space.
Man, I remember there's a part in this video where he shows what the difference is between how this registers in RGB space versus in the OK Lab color-corrected space.
What blocks I would pick in any real meaningful way.
Do non-autistic people really not care about color? What are you talking about? Don't rush to make your autism too much a part of your critical identity, okay? I'm pretty sure everyone cares about color.
Between the endpoints, and then a non-linear distance between each of the colors. They're close back into RGB space. We get this shape that I call the discarded rubber band. But you can see that we have to saturate the blues over here a lot more than we have to do some of the other colors to maintain that apparent brightness. And even if we look at this example in linear RGB, you can see that it's still a little bit weird. It's flat on one side and it's got this little bump out on the reds in a different color space called...
I remember there was some specific part of it that demonstrated the point very quickly, but I can't find it and it doesn't matter. Vosh over here being anti-colorblind. Yes. Yes, true. Yes, that's true. Okay. A Polish soldier was stabbed on the Polish-Belarusian border by an immigrant, and now half the country wants to murder brown people who try to cross the border. Okay. Quick question, by the way, not trying to victim blame. How the fuck do you stab a soldier? Like, I know you can do it, but, you know, I feel like... Very carefully? Yeah, I guess. It just feels like, I don't... You wouldn't be able to. Yeah, maybe, Roman. This is just a collection of tweets that are not... Why would you link me a translated Polish article when the article is entirely composed of Polish language tweets that aren't translated? Like, I'm going to open up all of these and translate them. Typical 2024 ass article. Happy to see that it's still happening in Poland. AI finest slop. Will you stop saying AI slop to everything? Chat does this for everything now. You use slop and you use AI for everything. Like, I meant slop to refer to specific shit, and AI means AI shit. Not just like anytime they're being lazy and linking a bunch of tweets or whatever. That's not... We learned it from watching you. I don't, you know, maybe you should unlearn it. Why would we do that, Celestial, at all? They do the same thing with Tanky and Campus. They copy the language use it for everything. I do almost regret using the term slop purely because people abuse it so aggressively. It's fucking crazy. I just hear stuff about slop all the time now. Yeah, yeah. People just use it as a synonym for bad. All right. You got to give us a new vocab word. Read the dictionary.
Investigate it and see what they...
And many of you have repeated that the operations be targeted and limited.
We still don't believe that a major ground operation in Rafah is warranted. We still don't want to see the Israelis, as we say, smash into Rafah with large units over large pieces of territory.
What about smashing into Rafah with, I don't know, J-dams? Guys, Israel, you know, I keep saying this, and it continues to be true more and more as I say it, like it keeps mounting up. Israel has in fact done an optics whoopsie. So, Israel engaged in a targeted strike on a refugee camp in Rafah. Displacement camp. I'm sorry, a displacement camp. Killing about 30 people. There are videos of this. You know, like this has happened many times over the course of the genocide. We don't normally get video footage as vivid as we did with this one. You know, I know there are a lot of people who always take this as a dare. You basically couldn't use Twitter right after it happened. Or at the very least, certainly not with autoplay on, you know. However bad you think it is, it's worse. You're not cool for looking at it. It's just, it just confirms, like, this has already happened hundreds, thousands of times. There are tens of thousands of dead civilians. It's not like this is just the most aggressive video footage we've seen of it, which again is a reminder why one of the first things Israel did was block foreign journalists from entering the Gaza Strip and do targeted airstrikes on the family homes of Palestinian journalists. There was a reason why they did that, you know? This exactly to prevent this exact situation. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I think when I said at least 29 people were killed, I think I'm talking about the strikes that happened after the previous strike. The strike I'm describing right now was this one that killed at least 45 people. This was bad enough, by the way, that even Zionist Israeli official types were like immediately spinning the story. I saw the standard faked audio where some guy named Mohammed Hamas was like, foolish American journalists believe the bomb wasn't ours, but it was ours. You know, John Hamas, like, you know, and they like cackle. I saw, what's the guy's name? Eli David, the one of the louder Zionist apologetic types on Twitter. I mean, he was doing this like, we'll look into it. I saw this, or am I thinking of Levy? It was probably a lot of them. I'm getting probably a lot of them mixed up. I don't even care to look, you know. I'll just end up seeing more of those fucking videos. But it was bad enough that the narrative that was immediately jumped to was that the airstrike was targeted against members of Hamas, but it triggered a fire that exploded munitions that Hamas had. And that's what led to the videos of like toddlers with their heads blown open, you know, being waved around by their dads. So like naturally, it can never be like, you know, Israeli missile strike, blown apart children. No, there must have been like a Hamas in the middle, you know. But the fact that they had to engage in these defensive ass pulls is an indication of how bad this looks for them. I mean, this is why they didn't want video footage coming out, you know? Israel's defense was so bad that the IDF admitted to doing it. Whew! From Netanyahu, strike was a mishap. Israel army, strike was legitimate. They can't even keep their lies straight. Yeah, a tragic mishap, Netanyahu says. Whereas the IDF official Twitter account said it was carried out against legitimate targets under international law through the use of precise munitions and the basis of precise intelligence. Right. It's a shit show over there. There are there we go. There are it really does make it so laughable, all of the claims that were made towards the beginning of this conflict, that the IDF was like a regimented and well-controlled organization, when there are opposing statements being made by the head of state and the military itself, you know? My personal theory, what I think, this is just my personal, I don't know whether or not this is true for sure, but I think this was some Hitlerite reprisal shit. Missiles hit Tel Aviv just a little bit before these airstrikes went off. What I personally think happened is that Hamas launched some missiles into Tel Aviv, and the IDF was like, "Oh, you pieces of shit," and just deliberately struck, like. IDF does have decent enough intel. They just don't care, right? That's the difference. Like, they have intel. They have modern equipment. They just don't care if they kill civilians. So they knew there were maybe some Hamas guys in a displacement camp. And they were like, oh, you're going to strike us? We'll just kill yours. The Nazis were like that too. What was the name of that famous massacre? The one where there was an uprising in, I think it was it Romania, Hungary, Poland? Which Eastern European country was it? Was it the Warsaw uprising? Where during the Warsaw uprising, they killed such and such number of Nazi officials, and all of them Lamau? I'm not done yet, dumbass. And in reprisal, the Nazis were like, for every one of ours you killed, we will kill 100 of their civilians. That's the one that I'm thinking of. The Lidici, I don't know how to pronounce it. Massacre. No, I think that more died than this one. But yeah, the Nazis did this a bunch. Like, every time they suffered any kind of national humiliation, they responded by targeting members of the ethnic group that attacked them. It's Serbia? Is it this one? Here we go, yeah. Nazis killed 100 Serbs per dead German. The Nazi soldiers killed about 4,000 people as part of an atonement exercise in occupied Serbia. The victims came from all walks of life. Children were among them. This was like a fairly common practice, which was any time there was any kind of like reprisal or civilian revolt or uprising or anything like that, the Nazis would be like, all right, you want to play? And they would just slaughter a bunch of civilians. They loved doing this shit. They did it all the time. We know We have names for some of the massacres they did. You know, they did a lot of them, though. And I think this is what the IDF did. I think that the timing on this was almost perfect. An unexpected, you know, largely symbolic set of strikes in Tel Aviv, followed by some of the most gruesome, indefensible, you know, civilian slaughter that we've yet seen. Certainly that we've yet seen on videotape. And it was bad enough that there's conflict within Israel on how to handle it optically, where they're saying, some people are saying it was a mistake, some people are saying nope, it was totally legitimate. And I personally think it's because the IDF is run by bloodthirsty lunatics who you know, want dead Arabs. And Netanyahu, as insane as he is, might actually be less psychotic about this than a lot of the higher ups in the IDF, you know? Do you think in the future we're going to look back at Israel like Japan, where the military is basically rogue and can't be controlled by the government? I don't think they're rogue. I think the government is defending what they're doing and promoting what they're doing. But I do think to a large extent that, yeah, the IDF is just kind of doing its own thing. Think about it. It is objectively in the interest of Israel to maintain good troop discipline, because the main threat to Israel's longevity right now is them losing the mandate of heaven, the support of America. And they keep doing things that do that. They keep doing things that make the American people not like them very much, like this, you know? And it's a totally unforced error. This isn't even good, necessary propaganda domestically. It's not as though Netanyahu's support or favorability is hinged on whether or not we get, you know, 1080p videos of Palestinian children with giant holes blown in them, right? That it's not like this is benefiting him in any kind of like material way. I think this is it's lunacy. It's hysteria. And I think that I think that a large part of this is Netanyahu understands to an extent that there are elements within his war cabinet and within the IDF that are just like full on crazy mode. Ben Gavir probably got off to that video of the bombing. Yeah, probably. UNRWA says staff are terrified and moving following strike in Tal al Sultan. They kept bleeding until they died. You know, it's a lot of... All those that were killed were civilians. No one was a fighter. You should never believe the IDF if they say that they were striking a Hamas guy. Remember when they struck that big refugee camp that had the big crater in it afterwards? And they were like, yeah, there was one Hamas guy in there. And they couldn't even prove they killed him afterwards. It was like 100 dead civilians. Oh yeah, this is a spoiler to a future segment. No, fuck it, I don't even care. Hey, that pier that Joe Biden proudly said he was going to build here to secure aid to the Gaza Strip, a little wind blew it apart. He talked about this during the fucking State of the Union address, you know? Wind blew it. Little bit of wind blew it. Sorry. Did it actually break or was it destroyed? It was destroyed. We would, or sorry, it broke. It was destroyed by the weather. You know, turbulent seas. We would know if it was sabotaged. But yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure that we have the technology to construct a pier that can withstand turbulent seas. Heavier sea conditions delayed the deployment. How long will it take to repair it? Part of the pier will have to be reconnected to the causeway. Does it say how long it'll take? It probably won't take crazy long. The pier costs 320 million. Yeah, guy, here you go. 320 million. There you go. Why? Who knows? Who knows what the contractors the military used for this one are getting paid? I'm confused. How long did it take to build up the piers in D-Day? One of the reasons why the U.S. military was so incredibly competent during World War II and is so incompetent and over, like, bloated today is because of contracting, you know? It used to be if you wanted to build something, if the military wanted, like, a pier or a bridge built really quickly, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers would get on it. And those motherfuckers know what they're doing. They do. But nowadays, it's like, oh, yeah, you know, we have, like, a private company that we can get to do the work, actually. And, like, the rules are we have to use them, and it only costs, like, $1 bajillion. And for some reason, all of the people who have, like, who have invested heavily in this company we're contracting with, like, a lot of them are congressmen. or, like, the relatives of congressmen. It's great. It's great. They removed the pier to repair, aka they're removing it. Nice, 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 nice. Removed from the coast of Gaza to be repaired. Okay, great, fantastic. Couldn't be a better time. Let's just watch the State Department.
We still believe that, and we haven't seen
And
our stake of a very consistent Ed, not the initial strike.
Come on. Get back to the beginning of the fucking Kirby.
Me?
flights
That killed dozens of.
development in the Middle East, Admiral.
Also, speak up.
Afternoon, everybody. So I just want to, just right off the top, talk about these devastating
Anyone else
images and reports
getting...
coming out of
Oh,
Rafah
yeah, I have it
weekend,
for mono for you.
following an IDF strike that killed
I'm only getting this out of my left
dozens
ear.
of innocent Palestinians, including children. And
Oh, you know it's bad when this fucking dog shows up and immediately is like, yeah, I know. The rogue genocidal state that I've spent the past 7 months defending did in fact do something really bad over the weekend. Yeah, I know.
We've all seen the images. They're heartbreaking. They're horrific. There should be no innocent life lost here as a result of this conflict. Israel, of course, has a right to go after Hamas. And we understand that this strike...
Anthony Blinken?
Anthony Blinken, if you were a decent man, you would walk yourself to the Hague. You are a war criminal.
Man, it's so cool how, like, the Democratic strategy in response to these people is these young progressives should care less about the genocide that we're doing. You know? Like that's the official, like, party strategy, you know?
did kill.
At least now I don't have to hear Vote Blue No Matter Who liberals, the group to which I belong, I guess, talking about how no one actually cares about foreign policy and none of this will matter in the election. That talk sure has dried up the past few months, huh? There was a lot of it back in October and November, but now, nope. Now we're fully, like, nearly halfway through 2024, and it's more and more of an issue every single day, and it's like, wait, hold on.
Two senior Hamas terrorists who are directly responsible for attacks against the Israeli people.
And the apologetics.
But, as we've also said many times, Israel must take every precaution possible to do more to protect innocent life. As soon as we saw these reports over the weekend about the strike, we reached out to the Israeli Defense Forces at various levels to gather more information, and we've been actively engaged with the IDF and with partners on the ground to learn more about
Wait, why
what
the fuck is
happened.
my
I'll note that the Israeli
YouTube
Defense Forces
enhancer
today
thing turned
released
off?
initial findings
Whatever.
that point to the fire being caused by a secondary explosion, not the initial strike.
Yeah, see? Like, yeah, man, we fired a missile directly into a refugee camp. By the way, all the blown apart children, that was from an extra secret other explosion. Oh, yeah, when I swung my fist at this guy and then he got hit and fell backwards, like, okay, it looked like I was swinging at him, but I stopped my fist right before it made contact, and another invisible man punched him, you know, right then. You know, in the original Doom game, when you shoot a barrel and the barrel explodes and kills a demon, you get credit for the kill. Personally, I think that if you fire a missile, even if the bullshit they're saying was true, which I don't believe, if you fire a missile into a refugee camp, which kills a bunch of innocents, and it sets off another explosive that kills more, I still think that's on you. Not gonna lie. I still think that's on you. I don't know how that's not on you in any way, shape, or form. Like, how could that not? If you like shoot a rocket at my house and it misses me, but then like the fire in the house kills me, like that's still on you. I don't know why. It's so pathetic, man. Like I said before, they're not even making a fucking effort to lie.
I think this speaks very clearly to the challenge of military airstrikes in densely populated areas of Gaza.
It's not a great challenge. You just don't do them. That's the challenge, you know? This is like Kirby over here is like, this speaks to the great challenge of like, you know, of your neighbor having a 16-year-old daughter. What? What? Mr. Kirby.
Including Rafah, because of the risk of civilian casualties, which of course happened terribly in this case. A horrible loss of life. We're glad that the Israeli Defense Forces are doing a full investigation, which we believe is going to be very important to try to prevent future such mishaps. With that, I can take some questions.
Thanks, Admiral. Can you explain how the strike in Rafah does not cross the lines that the President has set and many of you have repeated, that the operations be targeted and limited?
We still don't believe that a major ground operation in Rafah is warranted. We still don't want to see...
Aren't there literally tanks in Rafah right now? Like, even 30 minutes ago, Israeli tanks hit evacuation zone west of Rafah. Like, it just, like, again, we're in a fucking murder-suicide pact with Israel. Why? Why? I didn't sign up for this. I don't pay my taxes for this. I expect my tax money to be used for some amount of military impropriety. I understand this. I'm not an idiot. But like, what? I didn't sign up to fucking murder-suicide pact. At least do this shit in a way that doesn't fucking destroy this country. What the fuck?
Israelis, as we say, smash into Rafah with large units over large pieces of territory. We still believe that, and we haven't seen that at this point. But we're going to be watching this, of course, very, very closely. I want to just end this answer by making it very clear that
I'm legitimately in a bit of a crisis the past few days, how the General West can look at 30K dead civilians and say, yeah, that's inevitable, but 45 dead and it's suddenly a huge international issue. That's always been how it's been. You see videos of the dead, everything ramps up. That's why Vietnam was the first war that like got protested the way that it did in the United States. That's just how it is, you know? 10,000 people, it's like one person dying is a tragedy, 10,000 people dying is a statistic. 10 people dying on TV is a super mega tragedy, you know? It's very much like a proximity thing.
Regardless, every single loss of innocent life is tragic, and every single loss of innocent life should be prevented as much as possible.
By the way, someone earlier in chat said that we bombed the Serbs for less than this, and I do want to say that is literally true. If I'm remembering correctly, the Serbian government killed about 15,000 ethnic Albanians in their process of deportation. Israel has officially killed 3 times that many. In reality, probably killed many times more than that. We bombed. Hillary Clinton broke her like 11-month-long cold shoulder session with Bill Clinton over the Monica Lewinsky scandal to tell him to bomb Serbia, and he did the next day. But we're like in the murder-suicide pact with Israel.
Has the president seen the images?
I don't know. I can't speak to what he has absolutely been. He's been kept apprised throughout the weekend on this.
So you're saying the tent encampment that was first struck is considered a densely populated area?
The whole area of Rafah, Ed, is densely populated. Now, there has been 1 million or so who have evacuated Rafah proper, but it's not like they're going all that far away. The whole area is densely
So
populated.
how does this not violate the red line that the president laid out?
As I said, we don't want to see a major ground operation.
That's not a fucking answer. Like, every journalist is going to be like, hey, I can't help but notice that you said this was a line. How do you feel about that fact that you said that? And then he's going to be like, I did say that, without acknowledging that it's been crossed.
We haven't seen that at this point.
How many more charred corpses does he have to see before the president considers a change in policy?
We don't want to see a single more innocent life taken, and I kind of take a little offense at the question.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? While I non-stop defend and enable and fund and provide weapons for and lie for and so on and so forth. How dare you? You son of a bitch. The Trump administration would have been better about this. I genuinely mean it. At least the liberals would have reflexively disliked Israel because they were aligned with Trump. Can you please tell me what a Department of State under Trump would have done differently? Because there's a lot of joke answers where it's like, oh, he would have nuked them. No, they wouldn't have. They would have done exactly this. The Trump Department of State would have just lied and provide weapons constantly. What meaningfully is Biden doing differently than what the Republicans are doing in Congress, apart from the few Republican congressmen who are doing these like virtue signal deport all Palestinian bills that get 2 signatories or whatever? Like in terms of like the broader consensus, seriously.
No civilian casualties is the right number of civilian casualties. And this is not something that we've turned a blind eye to, nor has it been something we've ignored or neglected to raise with our Israeli counterparts, including, Ed, this weekend as a result of this particular strike. Now, they're investigating it. So
yeah, look, here's Nikki Haley writing "finish them" on shells that Israel's probably going to launch into Rafah. Can finish them, America heart, Israel always. How is this any meaningfully different from what Biden is doing? Genuinely, like he's sending the weapons. Like it's just more civil. Like the Democrats are just more civil. Maybe if this was official American foreign policy, you know, the average voter would be more disgusted with it. I don't know. We'll see how Biden does in November. I mean, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do with this?
let's let them investigate it and see what they come up with.
But the president doesn't have like a personal limit to this?
The president has been very clear and very direct about what our expectations are for Israeli operations in Rafah.
I think Trump would have put U.S. troops on the ground in Israel. You realize that would have probably been better, right? Because U.S. troops have their own chain of command and responsibility, and it probably would have been harder for the IDF to get away with a lot of the stuff that they've done if there were U.S. troops in the area. The IDF is friendly firing. They're killing their own men. They fire at random. They record themselves doing war crimes. If you had U.S. troops there with their own systems of command, rules of engagement, officers there, like, that probably actually would have been more of a, like, supervisory role, if anything. The IDF is leagues worse than the U.S. Army. Far worse. Deploying the army to the Gaza Strip probably would have saved lives, or at least they would have accidentally killed American soldiers, at which point, you know, that would have been a fun stream day, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, we'd have more stories coming from the ground, too. Content, homie. Do you think they're worse than the Russian army? I feel like they're, like, pretty comparable in a lot of ways, you know? I don't know. They feel pretty, it feels like pretty comparable. It feels like there's a pretty, yeah, it feels like they engage in a lot of the same behaviors. Why the fuck does the door keep creaking open? Fucking cats are laying against it. Like, the wind blows it one way, they land it the other. Yeah, they're trying to outdo each other. Yeah, the IDF is like the Russian military, except they have our weapons and we're funding them.
Rafah specifically, but in Gaza writ large. We don't support, we won't support a major ground operation in Rafah And we've, again, been very consistent on
The
that.
only difference is Russians post their war crimes on Telegram instead of Twitter/TikTok. I mean, kind of. There are IDF groups. Like, the IDF is literally admitted to having higher-ups in Telegram groups that were posting pictures of like, mutilated Palestinian corpses going like, haha, fucking Muhammad, dude, haha, Muslim, haha. Like, it's genuinely, like, it's not... Wasn't there a TikTok video recently posted by an IDF soldier where he was laughing at the toys of children in a house that he occupied? Like the family fled and there were like children's toys there and he was like, haha, these savages or whatever. Like, Jesus, you know? I think the main thing saving the Russian army in this comparison is that the average Russian doesn't speak English, and I'm pretty sure the average Israeli does. So a lot of their shit just more visible to us. If the average American soldier posted what the IDF soldiers do, they would be discharged from the military. What was... I always forget the name because I'm a terrible terrible politics streamer. What's the thing we did in Iraq? Al-Ghaib, the fucking... They had the prison camp where the American soldiers were fucking around. Abu Ghraib? Ghraib? I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. It's been so long since it's been like active news. Like, that was a scandal. The IDF does that shit every day, you know? Grabi? Gravi? Grabi or Gravi? Ghraib. Ghraib? It rhymes with Ghraib. Okay, I'm getting contradictory info from chat, and I don't care anymore. Thank you. You've burned it out. Thank you. Anyway, the point that I'm getting at is that was a huge controversy. Like, that was like weeks of media coverage when that shit came out. Like, that, to this day, that's still thought of as like, it like representative of all the wrong we did in Iraq, whereas like the IDF does that shit proudly every day with no consequences. Just none. No consequences, you know? It's fucking crazy. A bunch of those soldiers went to prison too. Yeah, have you seen what IDF soldiers get disciplined with? American cops get harsher punishments. It's insane!
And the president said that...
Stop trying to
should
pronounce
that
it.
occur,
I don't care anymore.
Then it might make him have to make different decisions in terms of support. We haven't seen that happen at this point.
Why not have him come out and say that himself?
The president has been speaking to leaders throughout the region on a regular basis. He has been addressing you guys in various fora.
Love having a president who doesn't talk to the public during a time of national crisis.
You've got plenty of opportunities to talk to the president, including, I might add, in a press conference last week.
What did Biden say in response to the strike that killed 45 people? He
You
said,
now that
ooh,
you
I'm
don't
sleepy.
think a major
Ooh.
ground invasion is happening in Rafah right now, but as you note, this is a densely populated area. It all is. I understand that this might be a secondary explosion. The Israelis are describing it as a tragic mishap, but isn't this exactly the kind of incident that you have been concerned about this whole time?
As I said in my opening statement, this exactly does speak to the challenge of military...
So yeah, he's not ever going to give an answer. Again, can you, man, this guy, what kind of lines do you think this guy was doing before coming out here? Because you know, he knew what he'd be saying time and time again. Like, he knew he'd just be coming out here and like downplaying everything.
Operations in a densely populated area. A challenge, I would add, Mary, that we have been sharing and our perspectives on with the Israelis from our own lessons learned in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. This incident speaks exactly to that challenge.
And despite
By the way, the war criminals from Abu Ghraib got off light with some nothing at all. Even after all that scandal, so was it really different? Yeah, it's massively different. It was a huge national scandal that was covered broadly. Israel does this shit like every day, and it was still treated as a bad thing. When the IDF posts war crimes to TikTok, not even it gets leaked by journalists. They post it. Not only is there no punishment, it gets celebrated. There's no comparison. There's genuinely no comparison. The last time the American military acted even remotely this bad was in Vietnam, and even then, genuinely, I don't even think it's comparable. I think that for the most part, the national character of being in Vietnam was officers who had no idea what the fuck they were doing, some of which in the absence of any proper national directive engaged in horrific war crimes. But I think the average character of the average soldier in fucking Vietnam was like a terrified conscript, you know? Whereas it genuinely seems like the fabric of the IDF from top to bottom is just gleeful genocide with basically no interruptions or break in that, you know? The character of the IDF is insane. Is that true, Masagui? U.S. military, unlike cops, stopped doing collabs with IDF in early 2000s because their soldiers kept getting into big arguments with IDF soldiers while on patrol over stuff the IDF soldiers. Is that true, Masagui? Is there actually like that much of a... We sprayed an entire country with millions of bombs. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Except I'm talking about the character of the military, like behaviorally, not about death tolls or national doctrine. You know, can you please like make an effort to listen to me rather than, hey, teacher, I have like something that sounds like a counterfactual but doesn't actually address the point that you've made. I'm gonna be like contrarian about it. We're not talking about Kissinger here. We're talking about the character of the military.
The loss of life here, do you still believe that this strike was precise and proportional?
There's an investigation. I think we're going to let the Israelis
never give
do their work.
any answers. Let the Israelis investigate. You know, yeah, man, whatever.
Of a specific strike by Israeli military forces when we had nothing to do with that.
And just one more, you've called the strike devastating, the images heartbreaking, but you've stopped short of outright condemning this strike. Can you explain why?
We have been, I think, very strong.
I'm not talking about the character of a single soldier. I'm talking about the character of the military. When did I say anything about a single soldier? It's the whole goddamn IDF.
In our condemnations about the deaths of innocent civilians. These deaths are not excused from that. But we have to understand what happened here. There's going to be an investigation. They've already said it was a tragic mistake. They're looking into it. They have been able to investigate themselves and hold people accountable in the past. We'll see what they do here.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I want to be clear, after this weekend strike, is it our assumption that nothing about U.S. policy has changed or is changing in regards to...
As a result of this strike on Sunday, I have no policy changes to speak to. It just happened. The Israelis are going to investigate it. We're going to be taking great...
Why do none of these journalists have the balls to ask a question that'll actually call this bullshitting? Listen to the journalists, dude. They all are. Like, what are they supposed to do? Like, do you want a journalist to like soy rage and go like, why do you lie? Why do you lie? Why do you lie? Like they're asking pointed questions. He's obviously dodging. There's not a human alive who is watching this and thinking, wow, we appreciate our strong leadership in this time of crisis. Thank you for answering the questions we need answered. Like, yes. Okay, well, that's because you're children who watch YouTube live streamers who say funny words and make funny sex jokes while covering politics. In reality, it would not be to the benefit of these people and their cause to soy rage out at Kirby. They are constantly asking questions that reveal how unwilling he is to be honest or straightforward. Are you saying your jokes are funny?
And we'll see where it goes from there.
I also want to ask, we saw a good amount of international condemnation after this strike, whether it was from President Macron of France, others in Europe. We have not yet heard from the president publicly at all about this strike. Why is that?
Well, again, I think I've answered this question with Ed. You've heard the president on numerous occasions in just the last few days about what's going on in the Middle East and in other places around the world, and you'll hear from him again. I'm absolutely confident in that.
One last question. Is there...
Lamau, Bosch sounds silly. We were pretty bad overall in Iraq, Afghanistan. You're right. I should never make any kind of comparative analysis when I'm talking about anything, because if you ever say X is in many ways worse than Y, people will just hear Y wasn't bad. Yeah, I can't, like, you can't say, hey, it's kind of wild that there was like a national scandal and weeks of coverage after a leak that revealed U.S. soldiers in Iraq doing something that IDF soldiers gleefully do every fucking day with no consequences and with like the official permission of both the American and Israeli government. And people will like hear that and they'll go, oh, so you think that our invasion of Iraq was good, actually? You think it was like red-pilled, which... I don't think that. I think we should have killed Saddam Hussein after the first Gulf War and ripped that Band-Aid off early. I mean, I think it was pretty stupid of us to leave him alive after that, but, you know.
Any concern that the United States itself is being isolated internationally as we continue to support the operation, and you're seeing European allies?
One of the things that we've talked about with the Israelis about the manner in which some of these operations are being conducted is the real danger that Israel itself could become further isolated from the international community just by dint of the manner in which they are conducting operations. So this is of concern, clearly, because it's not It's not in Israel's best interest, and it's not in our best interest for Israel to become increasingly isolated on the world stage. As a matter of fact, one of the things the president came into office wanting to do, and actually we had made some progress before the 7th of October, was working towards a more integrated Israel into the region. So it's in our national security interest to make sure that that doesn't happen.
How do you... It makes me angry to see them be so weak, man. It really does. It really genuinely does. He's basically just admitting, yeah, Israel's behavior is jeopardizing all of our national security interests. Also, we're not going to do anything about it. He's just admitting it. He's literally, yeah, before October 7th, you know, like effort was being made to, you know, bring about sort of peace and detente in the region. And now that's fucked up because of Israel. And like, what are you going to do, huh? What are you going to do? Yeah, I do think that a lot of people are going to defer to anti-Semitic conspiracism as a consequence of this, Khalik Tessie. People often crave simple, incorrect answers over complicated, correct ones, and it's going to be very annoying. Like, okay, remember how Nazis have spent the past 60 years using the USS Liberty as, like, some kind of JQ dog whistle? Like, hey, did you know that, like, a lifetime ago, Israel attacked a boat? Somehow this has something to do with Jews controlling the world. I don't know. Now they have all of this, and this is going to be the argument for like the rest of my life. It's going to be, I'm going to be talking to some internet Nazi, and they're going to be like, "Hey, isn't it crazy how, like, you know, you say the JQ is wrong, but then we did a murder-suicide pact with Israel?" And it's like, okay, it's complicated, and you're misrepresenting this heavily, but it's a fucking argument I shouldn't have to have.
The president doesn't make decisions, and he doesn't execute on policy.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on.
President doesn't make decisions. And
Got it. Got him, folks. Finally, the truth.
And he doesn't execute on policy based on public opinion polling or on popularity contests. He bases his decisions on our own national security interests, what's at stake for our safety and security here at home and abroad, and what's in the best interests of our allies and partners. Sometimes what's in the best interest of your alliance and your partnership is to be candid, forthright, even tough with your friend, which we have.
This literally sounds like somebody making apologetics for an alcoholic friend or like an abusive partner or something. Like, yeah, you know, like, it's complicated, you know? Sometimes they want to do stuff that, like, opposes our national interest and alienates us in the world station, ruins all our interest in the region. But, like, you know...
been able to do with Israel.
So I just want to be clear on that. We spoke about Israel's isolationism there. I just want to make clear, are you concerned at all, or is the administration concerned at all about the United States being out of step or isolated?
This is the sort of thing Kissinger would have said and done. Nope! Kissinger would have just openly... Kissinger just would have come out here and said, like, to the extent he spoke to the public at all, Kissinger just would have been like, you know, yeah, we're containing the jihadist threat. You know, like, well, first of all, Kissinger, okay, honestly, truth, Kissinger was nothing if not competent. Kissinger probably would have forced the Israelis to stop being so bad optically, like, to the point that it's very possible he would have forced a regime change, not to stop the genocide, but rather to make the IDF and Netanyahu less openly morally reprehensible. You know, cut the cameras, stop posting it to TikTok, we're doing this quietly, do it better, you know? Kissinger either would have cut Israel loose or made them shape the fuck up. I don't think he would have abetted this kind of like daily humiliation in the briefings. He would have just outright defended what they did, cut them off entirely, or made them more defensible. I don't think he would have given a shit about dead Palestinians. Kissinger would have been weird and anti-Semitic about, oh, Kissinger would have been he was an anti-Semite, yeah, 100%. He would have been like grumbling in the Oval Office about some horrid, some anti-Semitic trope that doesn't even exist anymore. Something that like exclusively existed in the minds of guys from that era. He would have been grumbling about it with the president.
Back to that in the last part of my soliloquy.
No, I did.
I did.
I'm sorry, I did not catch that.
You didn't get it. Okay, so I'm gonna try it again, and we'll see. Maybe
Wasn't
maybe
Kissinger
take two
Jewish?
better.
Yeah, much to his regret.
The president's not making decisions based on popularity of, or public opinion polls here and around the world. He's making decisions.
I think that the president sometimes should make decisions based on what the people who are in the country that he's in want. You know, that, in my opinion, that does sound kind of like, I'm not saying every technocratic decision should be, you know, made subject to popular mandate. It does seem a little bit weird that, like, basically very few Americans proportionally want us to keep doing what we're doing, and we're doing it anyway. I don't know.
Decisions about our national security based on those interests and what meets those interests. And it certainly doesn't meet our interest, and it doesn't meet our Israeli partners' interest for them to become further isolated. But he's not making decisions based on that being a worry. He's making decisions based on what's in the best interest of the American people and our safety and security abroad.
Thank you so much. So last week from this podium, Jake Sullivan was asked about the Rafah operation, and he said, and I quote him, "What we're going to be looking at is whether there is a lot of death and destruction from this operation." So if what happened this weekend doesn't qualify as a lot of death and destruction, how would you describe it, and how would you quantify what a lot of death and destruction in Rafah is?
We don't. There's not like a measuring stick here or a quota, as we've said many times.
Oh yeah, don't want to make a quota. Every time you draw anything that looks even remotely like a red line, Israel immediately crosses it. So, you know, if you say the quota is this and this many dead, you know fully well you're not changing course when Israel actually does it.
The right number of civilian casualties is 0. We won't see any.
Oh, that's great.
We've seen more than about a dozen or so that we know of, at least from this strike alone. That's horrific.
About
That's
a dozen
we don't
or
wanna
so.
see that.
Far more than that.
The answer should be 0. The Israelis have said this was a tragic mistake. They're going to investigate that. We're going to let them do that. But we've also said, and this is the other part of what Jake said, is that we don't want to see a major ground operation in Rafah that would really make it hard for the Israelis to go after Hamas without causing extensive damage and potentially...
you know, as opposed to, like, what's already been going on. Yeah, you know, we wouldn't want tanks in Rafah. That would be terrible. We wouldn't want Israel to do any, like, you know, collateral damage. Burr, burr, burr. Israeli tanks roll into Rafah amid Gaza bombardment. Burr, burr, burr. Oh, by the way, this is from 5 hours ago. The Times and the Sunday Times video. The tanks rolled in at least at minimum of 5 hours ago. This live White House press briefing started streaming 86 minutes ago. So he was aware of the fact that tanks were in Rafah. This guy, hey, Department of State, this guy knew there were tanks in Rafah as he said this. It's possible the journalists don't know yet, though I'd be surprised if they didn't. You know, maybe they'll bring it up more as it goes on. He knew. He was aware.
ما احنا عارفين وين بدنا نروح. صحينا على 6 الصبح، صار 5:30 من القذايف والصواريخ، وين متمرمطين رايحين الله اعلم في حالنا وفي وضعنا، ولا معنا خيم ولا معنا حاجه، ومعنا اطفال، ولسه في كمان نقله والده وعمتي وحماتي.
Are the comments psychotic? I mean, for the most part, like, it seemed like if you go online, support for Israel is not very common. Like, in spite of what it may seem from the government or from media, like, if you look at actual popularity polling in the entire Western world, the majority of people are not fond of what Israel is doing. Like, not even remotely.
A large number of deaths. We have not seen them do that at this point, but we're watching it very closely.
Admiral, you've said repeatedly that the U.S. doesn't want to see a major ground operation in Rafah, but Israeli tanks just moved into central.
Pre-watched.
Well, again, I don't want to talk about Israeli Defense Force operations, but my understanding
Excuse what? I don't want to talk about IDF operations. By the way, we don't want to see an IDF operation. What are you saying, man?
And and I believe the Israelis have spoken to this, that they are moving along something called the Philadelphia corridor, which is on the outskirts of the town, not in the town.
Oh my
proper.
fucking
That's what
God.
the Israelis have said. We're not on the ground, Gabe. We're not there. I mean, you know, we don't have troops that can.
This is again the weakness. This is the U.S. Department of State. We can see their tanks move from space. We see everything. What do you? We're not there. We don't. Actually, it's like the outskirt of. We have intelligence apparatuses everywhere. We have the most advanced spy apparatus in the world. Congress doesn't even know how much money they get. Like, oh, who knows, man? No major military operation, but you know, he looks like he's doing a meme right here. Like this is a joke face. Like, who can say? You know, well, we don't know. We can't see. You know, close your eyes and you can't see.
Look at every single soldier and where they are.
We can't see where every single soldier is. How can we possibly make any comments on something that's happened hours ago?
Going based on what the Israelis are telling us and what they're saying publicly and what we're able to discern as best we can. As you and I speak here today, we have not seen a major ground operation. And these tanks are moving along a corridor that they have told us previously that they would use on the outskirts of the town to try to put pressure on Hamas.
NBC's crew in Gaza has described it as being Central Rafah. If it were to be Central Rafah.
Look at this face. The reason why this guy is lying, by the way, is because he is under orders from the President of the United States of America to adhere to a given doctrine on this issue, and they cannot acknowledge that Israel has crossed a red line until Biden and his cabinet decides that they're ready to acknowledge that they've crossed a red line. You know, he's part of the administrative state. Like, he came out here knowing he had to lie. There's nothing these reporters can do to get a real answer out of him. All they can do is probe him to reveal how disingenuous he is. That's it.
Would that be considered as major?
A single tank?
I'm gonna lose it, man. I'm genuinely going to lose it. I can't. I'm running out of like funny ways to say it. I'm running out of ways to do this.
A single tank with a dozen or so guys, and I mean, we're talking about, you know, you're dragging me into a hypothetical, and I hate that, but one.
State Department press briefings should not remind me of debates that I have had with internet YouTubers. I'm getting flashbacks to like 4 years ago. I should not have that brought back. I'm incurring like immense psychic damage right now.
Tank, one armored vehicle, does not constitute a major ground operation. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going on right now.
You know what? Yes, it fucking does. Tanks never move anywhere at least they shouldn't. They don't move anywhere as a single unit. An unsupported tank is incredibly vulnerable and expensive. You know, tanks move in groups. A single tank needs protection. Like, there's no... Yes. And it's not just a single tank. He was like, yeah, man, all these tanks are in the outskirts. We don't know. And then it's like, yeah, NBC said they're actually in Central Rafah. And Kirby was like, with one tank? Oh, I don't know. Do you think NBC News? Kirby, hey, quick question, by the way. If you were being honest, which I guess nobody thinks you are, so I don't know why I'm saying this, but if you genuinely believe that Israel was keeping their tanks to an outside corridor, shouldn't the news that NBC reported they were in Central Rafah be a surprise to you? Like, you'd think if they were even pretending to make these lies credible, he would be like, oh, I was not aware of this, or we have not substantiated those claims. But instead, because he came out here knowing that Israel had already begun a major military operation in Central Rafah, because he fully knows. We have that surveillance apparatus I talked about. He knows where they are. He came out here knowing they'd already done it and being willing to downplay it, you know. Instead, he's doing this like, just one tank, like daring the reporters to have, video footage of multiple tanks?
I'm telling you is what the Israelis have told us about what they're doing. They tell us on the outskirts. A major ground operation is, thousands and thousands of troops moving in a...
Oh, that's okay. Gotcha. It has to be 1 billion soldiers marching in line into central Rafah. Gotcha. I mean, it's one city, Just, yeah, you're right. Sorry. Thousands. Gotcha. Okay. So, like a tank column wouldn't be enough. Like 20 tanks supported by about 1,000 infantry. Would that be like, is that not enough? I mean, 20 tanks plus 1,000 infantry could mulch like everyone in there easily. But okay.
Maneuvered, concentrated, coordinated way against a variety of targets on the ground. The kinds of things we've seen, we've done ourselves. That's what we're talking
Tomorrow when Israel marches 20,000 troops, he'll say millions. Yeah, after this briefing, he's going to get, like, newspaper lashed by Biden in the White House office like a dog. Biden's going to be like, you should have said millions. A major military operation is millions of soldiers, because they know fully well that Israel is going to send thousands of soldiers in there. Yeah.
talking about here.
And then one last thing on a strike today, at least 21 people killed in a strike that hit a tent encampment in southern Gaza today. What's the U.S. response to that?
We can't verify those reports. The Israelis are saying publicly that there was no such strike, so I'd point you.
I'm going to be arguing about this for the rest of my life, man. The Nazis are going to be like pointing at shit like this and go, explain this. And I'm going to have to be like, American foreign policy. Yeah. Are you guys looking forward to like a decade from now when every single American liberal is going to pretend they were against this?
To them, I can't speak to it.
Thanks. And just want to make this very clear between what's happened on Sunday, what's happened in terms of the ongoing ground operations since. There's nothing that you have seen thus far that would prompt a U.S. withdrawal of more military assistance.
I believe that's what I've been saying here.
Okay, cool. And just want to get your reaction as well to the House Republicans asking for sanctions against the ICC or some of its officials. Is that something that the Biden administration is going to support?
No, we don't believe that sanctions against the ICC is the right approach here. No. I mean, look, we obviously don't believe the ICC has jurisdiction. We certainly don't support these arrest warrants. We've said that before. We don't believe, though, that sanctioning the ICC is the answer.
Thank you, Karine. Admiral, please help me to understand. You just said that basically there is no major operation that you have seen by the Israelis in Rafah. And you insisted that it has to be a viable plan to evacuate all civilians, and that was considered kind of red line, if you don't want to call it a red line. So explain to me how 1 million people who are forced to leave Rafah to no place that's considered a safe zone, with now only 400,000 left, how could it be that different from what you said, that we oppose the plan unless the Israelis give us really a viable way to make sure that these 1.5 million civilians are safe. So 1 million, they're not really safe. Because
by the way, Haaretz confirmed Israel blackmailing, spying, and violently threatening ICJ officers. Yeah, we're not surprised by this. Pattern of spying, hacking, intimidation tactics employed by Israel's intelligence agencies to undermine the ICC's investigation into alleged war crimes in Gaza. Yeah, not even remotely surprising. I mean, the IDF has literally been like targeting and killing journalists in the Gaza Strip. It's not surprising they would extend that internationally. Love our being in a murder-suicide pact with a terrorist rogue state.
we have seen yesterday, they have been attacked, they're burned to death, with kids have no heads, headless kids, you've seen the pictures.
Yes, I have.
And then now, the Israelis, basically, their plan is to let these people leave, but not voluntarily. These people are forced to leave. So how could be this any different from your insistence that it has to be a good plan, a viable plan, a practical plan to make sure that these people are going to a safe place?
I didn't say that everything that's happening in Rafah right now is perfect or good.
No, I'm not saying
I'm not saying that at all.
What you said before. You said before that it has to be a viable plan to evacuate 1.5 million people. Now we have 1 million completely in nowhere.
Yeah, not all the 1.5 million are out of Rafah.
Bosch, your analysis is lazy. You know, POV, you're a big nuance guy when it comes to genocide. Yeah, fuck off.
Right? There's still hundreds of thousands that are still in Rafah, that are still in danger, and we still have not seen a plan to take
Fucking
care
hate
of
the nuance cells. Yeah, you know, a bunch of the nuance cells are totally okay being like really hardline against Russia too. Which is the crazy thing. It's literally just like, this is what I mean, by the way, about rationalizing feelings. Constructing this entire like logical persona around a completely indefensible double standard.
their safety and security, which is why nothing's changed about our view that we don't want to see a major ground operation in Rafah that puts those people at greater risk. I'm not really sure where you and I are on a different page here.
I don't know if you answered my question, but it's...
Well, let's try it again. Go ahead.
You said that the Israelis have to offer a viable plan to evacuate 1.5 million civilians, correct? You said that many times.
I checked. This person had no chat history. They wanted to donate. They're a non-U.S. citizen. They wanted to donate during the fundraiser stream. We're doing another one on Saturday, by the way. Trump would have given them a carte blanche to murder indiscriminately. Bro, what the fuck do you think Biden's doing, man? Fucking a State Department press briefing where they're like, nothing happened. They're not doing anything. And if they did do anything, it's just sticking to the corridor. And if it's not sticking to the corridor, that NBC saw them in Central Rafah. What is it? One tank? One tank's not enough. They need a million tanks. And we're not going to condemn. We're not going to acknowledge. We're going to give them more weapons. What do you think that is but carte blanche? Do you think it would have been different if Trump was like, I don't know, more like brutish about it? At least that would have been honest. If a Trump-picked head of state would have come out here and said, yeah, kill them all, meh, that would have been more honest. We're not talking about the protesters, Eliza Lee.
We want to see a viable, credible plan for the safety and security.
1.5 million. 1 million already forced to leave into...
By the way, like, you should be harder on this too, because here, this was linked a little bit earlier in chat, but like, look, it is a murder-suicide pact. We are unironically at risk of losing American democracy to the Republicans because Joe Biden is such a staunch Zionist. Like, it is actually that bad. Like, we're not only talking about the fucking slaughter of the Palestinian people. This isn't just a foreign threat. Like, this is tanking him too. Like, all of us are going down. Murder-suicide pact, baby. Yeah, us in Israel, you know? Netanyahu, fucking 2% approval rating. Biden approval rating not going up because they were banking on all this being over by like mid fucking November, last November, and it's not. All year, Democrats had been on a joyless and exhausting grind through the 2024 election, but now, nearly 5 months from the... Yeah, it's almost like some of the most effective, engaged, and energized advocates for the Democratic Party have been young people, and you've alienated all of them by telling them that they're anti-Semitic for not wanting a genocide. Reminds me of the classic, don't worry, the war will be over by Christmas. Yep. Shit never changes. Oh, young people don't like genocide? We will ban TikTok to solve this. Now, nearly 5 months from the election, anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation, according to more than a dozen party leaders and operatives. And the gap between what Democrats will say on TV or in print and what they'll text their friends has only grown as worries have surged about Biden's prospects. Cool. They should run Hillary again. Do you think Kamala Harris would be better on this? Yeah, Joe Biden is like an actual Zionist. Kamala Harris is worse. I'm not saying she's better generally. I'm saying that Joe Biden is ideologically Zionist and has been for longer than you've been alive.
Y'all, welcome. Welcome to the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, the city of Detroit.
I wouldn't say that personally, but I don't care, whatever. I mean, we're not getting over the id pull, I guess.
I don't know if I need to remind you all, but Detroit, we birth movements, not just labor movements. We birth movements on environmental justice, on women's rights, and so much more. So welcome, gain strength from this amazing, beautiful black city that raised me. I don't need to tell you that you're on the right side. I don't need to. But I'll be damned if I wait 10 years before they apologize to all of you for doing what was right at this moment. Each year, our country, and I say our country because it is
Why
our
am I
country.
looking at this?
Side, Israeli, our country, over and over again.
I don't remember why I was looking at this, to be honest with you. We're voting for Dr. Jill Stein. Joe Biden killed Aaron Bushnell. Well, I can get a read on this guy pretty easy from the... All right. Are we supposed to dislike this woman? It's not easy being a progressive in Congress right now, which is why we're going to try to help Jamal Bowman.
Places that are not considered safe. You're only talking about 500,000, and this 500,000 over the next few weeks probably will be down to few
Well,
thousand.
what happened on Sunday was terrible and tragic, and you're right.
Question, please? Do you mind? Thank you.
You're right. Not enough has been done for the safety and security of the innocent people trying to seek refuge in and around Rafah. I'm not pushing back on that at all. And I can't verify where everyone who left, where they went. I don't know if all of them went to a tank compound that was set up by the Israeli Defense Forces, or maybe they went somewhere.
We hear you,
else.
we see you.
Obviously, it's still a dangerous place.
I'm ready for the final weapon in the Democratic arsenal, okay? We need this guy to come out and deliver a State Department press briefing wearing a keffiyeh. That's what we need, okay? We need this guy wrapped the fuck up. And you can, like, take a knee or something. We can, like, mix metaphors. That's what we need.
Why what happened on Sunday is so tragic, and we don't want to see it happen again, which is why we think it's important for the Israelis to investigate this fully, completely, and be transparent about it, and more importantly, to learn lessons from the investigation so that this can't happen again.
I want this, but for Palestine. Just Kirby, Blinken, that weasel fuck, all of them, just out here with the keffiyeh. Not even answering questions, just 30 minutes of them like this. And then they go back in. I think the Palestinian people would want that too. Vosh, I work for a state Dem party. What idiot resist libs don't get is that they're alienating the people who actually do the work of getting people elected. Yup! Young people don't vote as much as older people, but young people are disproportionately good at getting other people to vote because they have a much better command on social media. They're more likely to canvass. They're more energized. They tend to have larger friend groups. They tend to be more active, and they're in close contact with other young people who are easier to convince to vote because a lot of young people don't vote but could, right? So by alienating young progressives, the Democrats are going to learn. Well, they're not going to learn anything. They're not going to learn anything from this. They're just going to blame us. The Democrats ought to learn from this election just how much they needed young progressives. We'll see if Biden wins. You know, maybe he could. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. They're not making it easy for themselves.
To our question, please, one quick question. Sure.
Thanks. So just to clarify, how can the...
No, go ahead, Nadia. Thank you. And then just one quick
Is
question.
Bad Empanada being anti-Semitic there? Who the fuck cares? Why the fuck? What are you fucking narc? What am I, a hall monitor? Is Bad Empanada using the bathroom pass to like skip homeroom, or is he like actually using the restroom? Who gives a shit? Why are you asking me?
The European Union are considering imposing sanction on Israel if it does not oblige by the ICJ order to stop the attack on Rafah. Is this something that you disagree, agree with? Do you think there is an isolation now, or there's a rift between you and the Europeans, the whole of EU, because they're the one who's wanting to...
I'll let the Europeans speak to that. We have no plans for those kinds of sanctions to put in place based on the ICJ ruling, a ruling that we do not, that obviously we do not concur with, nor do we see that they have jurisdiction.
Thanks. So how can the administration not want to see a major ground operation, but not have a measuring stick, you know, your words, to actually measure what is...
The question was how many deaths? It wasn't a measuring stick about what a major ground operation was. The specific question was, well, how many deaths is too many? As I said, one is too many. We don't want to see any more. But what Jake was trying to do when he came up here to explain to you what a major ground operation entails, lots of units of tens of thousands of troops or thousands of troops moving in a coordinated set of maneuvers against a wide variety of targets on the ground in a massive way. That's a major ground operation.
You know, the reason it's Kirby today and not that other Weasley fuck is because they probably thought that Kirby would be marginally better at dodging questions, and in his defense, he is. Kirby is better. I always forget the other fucking guy's name. The guy who looks like a weasel. Can you remind me of his name? I'll remember it when I see it. I always forget. Blinken? No, not Abe Lincoln. Jake Sullivan? It must be, it's Jake Sullivan. Lincoln or Blinken doesn't look like Weasel. What are you guys on about? Sullivan does. Like unnervingly so. This is an official photo of him. He looks like a fucking Smiling Friends character. Hello, press. I'm here to brief you.
Pretty simple. I mean, it's not hard to discern that. I think it's very obvious what that is, and we have not seen them move in that way. What happened Sunday? Tragic, very tragic. It was an airstrike. It wasn't the first airstrike that they had conducted in Rafah in recent days or weeks, not at all. But this one had tragic results, no question about that. Nobody was asking me about red lines a week or so ago.
I gotta
when there
just
were other
babysit this
airstrikes
fucking guy for me
in
for a
Rafah
second.
that didn't cause civilian casualties. This is an airstrike. It's not a major ground operation. It's different. Now, again, we're not taking anything at face value either. We're not on the ground. So we're going to watch this really closely, and we are, as we were since Sunday, staying in touch with our IDF counterparts to make sure we can get the answers to the questions that we have, which are not unlike the ones you have.
I wanted to circle back to the President's comments to Aaron Burnett earlier this month. I know you're saying major ground operation, but he didn't say major ground operation. When he was asked to clarify what his red lines were for withholding any sort of, or any U.S. weapons, he said Israel had not yet moved into population centers in Rafah.
Yeah.
Does the U.S. currently not consider the strike on Sunday to have hit in a population center? And how do you define a population center?
The president wasn't moving the stick anywhere. He was talking about major ground operations in Rafah proper, which is what we've been saying all along. And when he was referring to population centers, that's exactly what he was referring to. As I said in my opening statement, what happened on Sunday shows just how difficult military operations are in a densely populated area. And yes, of course, Rafah is a densely populated area.
I guess there's still... I mean, you have the president saying that he doesn't want, Israel to target any population center. We are seeing, I know you said tanks are moving along the corridor, but we are seeing tanks in Rafah. We've now seen strikes continue to kill civilians, including children.
Yeah.
Just for, an average American who's watching their taxpayer dollars go to this,
Yeah, for those of you who think that the reporters are not doing their jobs here, I have genuinely never in my life seen press briefings with reporters being this narrative with their questions. Normally you have like one guy who's being kind of narrative with it, and the rest of them are just asking sort of pointed, like either gotcha questions or like here's a little sound bite. But basically every journalist now is like, okay, so I'm holding up a photo of a burnt Palestinian baby. why did you make this happen? Like, there's a lot more. This is the Weasel guy, not Jake Sullivan. Oh, this is the guy I was thinking of. Matthew Miller. Okay, who also looks like a weasel. They all look like weasels. He looks like a weasel. I don't think Anthony Blinken looks like a weasel, personally. He just is one. Maybe it's a prerequisite for working at the State Department. No, I don't think that Anthony Blinken looks like a weasel. He is a weasel. I'm just saying I don't think he looks like one. To me, he looks like more of a... Honestly, he looks like a politician from like the 70s, you know? I feel like this lip shape and upper tooth smile is just straight out of like Carter, Nixon, LBJ, just from that era, you know? Yeah, he's ready to defend leaded gasoline. Exactly. No, but not a major one, Skynet one.
To explain to them how this isn't a major military operation, or just maybe it would help to explain what is a major ground operation when it comes to...
You need 1 billion soldiers, and you need an aircraft carrier, and you need an entire air fleet, and you need to nuke, and you need a million soldiers and big guns. It needs to be like D-Day, basically, you know? If the invasion of Rafah specifically does not look like the invasion of Berlin, then it's not a major military operation. You need paratroopers.
The Biden administration.
Thought I already did that, but I'm happy to do it again. Now, first of all, I am not the IDF spokesman, and this is not Tel Aviv. This is the White House press briefing room. And I am not today or
You kind of are the IDF spokesman, though. Like, you kind of are. You know, you've been laundering their bullshit for the American press for over half a year now. You're not officially their spokesman, but you're doing everything you can to massage their behavior for the benefit of your policy and interest.
The other day, going to take it upon myself to speak to Israeli military operations, the planning, the intent, and the tactics that they're using. You should be asking Admiral Hagari that question. He's the IDF spokesman, not me. What I will tell you is that...
Hello, it is me, IDF spokesperson. We kill 1 billion Palestinian, we kill more. Yay, woo! Israel forever. I assume that's what he would say. I don't... Missile kill 40 innocent babies? Sorry, wasn't 50. Woo! I don't know. I probably shouldn't do like any kind of accent or broken English when I'm making a joke about an Israeli rep talking to American press, because half the people in Israel are from Brooklyn. Nah, that's not true. There are tons of Israelis who aren't, though. It certainly is the case that a lot of their they do have a pretty strong national disposition for both speaking English and putting out propaganda in English. So do it again, the Brooklyn accent. Oh, yeah, these Palestinians... I don't know. I can't... Yeah. The spokesperson is literally Scottish. Scottish? Really? Hey, I'm walking here, he says, like walking on a burnt Palestinian corpse. You weren't kidding. Play this. He claims there were no tents. Oh, sorry. Pardon me for... Yeah, here we go. Oh, it's this fucking guy.
From where the safe zone in Al-Mawasi is. And that's what Daniel Hagari made crystal clear.
Sorry, David, I know, I heard Daniel as well. I was listening across it at the time as you were. Who were these civilians then that were killed? Where were they? The tents caught fire, David.
This large fire which took hold, which the conversation from the Hamas operatives made clear was caused by Hamas munitions, must have caused a larger fire which affected these civilians, because the munitions which were used...
By the way, there were like videos of children's heads with holes blown in them. I don't think fire does that. I could be wrong. I'm not a fire expert, but you know. I think that Israeli missiles can do that. I think missiles have the ability to do that.
Used don't cause fires and don't cause craters.
So the fire may have spread 1.8 kilometers. Is that what you're saying, to the safe zone? Because the fire was right next to this.
This is very, very important point, and I'm pleased you gave me the opportunity to make it clear. This was not the safe zone. This was outside the safe zone. This was 1.8 kilometers away from the safe zone. That's more than 1 mile away from the safe zone. And it was in a Hamas compound where these two terrorists were planning.
So like, okay, ask an Israeli spokesperson and they will just say anything to you. Just anything. Like, just any lie. It was a Hamas compound. That's often true, funny rhetorician. Is that true? No, the missile struck a camp with civilians in it. It was objectively not a Hamas compound. It's like, it's just a complete objective, factual lie, indefensible. He can just say anything. You can, like, if you're a spokesperson for the IDF, you've already been caught lying 5 million times before. Why does it matter if you get caught lying? Just say it. Like, who gives a fuck, you know? It's not like you have any credibility to waste away.
What we have seen is essentially, so far, what the Israelis said they were going to do. They were going to close down the crossing to shut off the revenue to Hamas that comes across that crossing.
And the aid.
For a while. And they were going to go after Hamas terrorists.
How's this guy smiling? Because he knows he's lying. He knows that this is just a game he has to play. He knows that the journalists here know that he's lying, but if they just openly accuse him of lying, they can be removed from the press pool. So, yeah.
In as precise a way as possible, that they were not going, quote unquote, smash. That is still against multiple targets on the ground.
What?
That is a major ground, unquote, smash. That is still against multiple targets on the ground.
Okay.
That is a major ground operation. We have not seen that. What we've seen is they have targeted tunnels. They have definitely done airstrikes. This one with tragic results, but not all of them with tragic results.
I mean, there's like 40,000 dead confirmed, so this isn't the first time civilians have been killed in the conflict.
And yes, they are moving some armored vehicles along a corridor on the outskirts of Gaza, along a corridor, by the way, that they told us they were going to use. So everything we're seeing,
center of Rafah.
We can't see everything, but everything that we can see tells us that they are not moving in a major ground operation in population.
What didn't he say was one tank? He's even lying in the context of this interview, because somebody was like, yeah, NBC has literally said there are tanks in central Rafah, and he was like, what, 1 tank? It needs to be 1 million tanks. So like, nobody there thinks he's being honest. 12 hours ago, Reuters reports Israeli tanks have entered central Rafah. Don't worry, guys. I'm sure it was like, you know, 1 tank.
Centers in the center of Rafah. But as I also said in my opening statement, we're going to watch this hour by hour, day by day, and we will stay in touch with our Israeli defense counterparts about what they're doing.
I mean, literally, like right here. The Israeli military denied striking a tent camp west of the city of Rafah on Tuesday after Gaza held... Oh, this is a different strike that killed a bunch of civilians than the other one they're talking about. There's multiple strikes that have slaughtered civilians that have been done recently. In central Rafah, tanks and armored vehicles mounted with machine guns were spotted near Al-Awda Mosque, city landmark, witnesses told Reuters. The Israeli military said its forces continue to operate in the Rafah area without commenting on reported advances into the city center. In a further blow to aid efforts, part of the U.S. military's pier off Gaza's coast is broken off, probably due to bad weather. Honestly, do I believe that it was due to bad weather? I don't, man, honestly, I take back what I said earlier. I'm going to reserve judgment on that one. Like, who the fuck knows with how evil these fucking people are?
There's been different numbers out there. Can you just clarify, does the U.S. have...
Since when does the U.S. just blindly believe people else? We don't. He knows that Israel is doing what they said they shouldn't. He knows he's lying. We're the fools here in that we're in the murder-suicide pact, not in that we're genuinely trusting of Israel.
An accurate number of Palestinians that have fled Rafah, and how many displaced Palestinians are still in Rafah, and for the Palestinians that have fled, just where are they? I mean, there's no safe place to go.
Let me go back and we'll get you some better numbers the best I can.
Vosh, the IDF can't just break the pier the U.S. military was operating on. Yeah, again, I'm reserving judgment. Genuinely, I would be more trusting of Nixon talking to me about our involvement in Laos than I would anything the current administration is saying. This is me listening to Kissinger tell me what America is doing abroad. I'm like kicking my feet up. I've got my head in my hands happily. You know, I'm trusting. I'm content as a wee babe. You know, it's insane. You know, I think I would need video footage of the weather destroying the port before I believed it was anything other than on the exact same day that Israel commits to its military operation in Rafah, like in a central sense, the port breaks off when they're also strangling aid in every other direction. I don't know. It's like I just need evidence, you know, which I'm never gonna get. But like, dog, the IDF has gotten away with assassinating Western aid workers and journalists. Like, that shit with the World Food Kitchen, I always forget the full name of their thing. Like, it's not like there are limits to this. I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like they do anything they want. World Central Kitchen, thank you. I just can't. Yeah, exactly, Richard Hannay. Like, it's always, it's going to be a while. My guess is that the next State Department press briefing, the next one, they're going to be like, okay, Israel is now moving into central Rafah, but we believe it's in a limited capacity. And the one after that is going to be like, okay, like, you know, we regret the many deaths in central Rafah as a consequence of the military operation and are asking Israel to investigate it. And we will wait on what Israel tells us.
The numbers that we're getting, though, again, we're not on the ground counting noses. So we have to rely on other sources, whether it's international organizations or the IDF. Roughly speaking, more than 1 million of the 1.5 million people that were seeking refuge, we estimate more than 1 million, have fled Rafah. Now, again, to Nadi's question, where'd they go? I can't tell you every tent compound they went to and who's running that. I just can't do it. But there are several 100,000 that we still believe are in Rafah. However, I will take the question and we'll see if we can get a better sense of the numbers for you.
Thanks, John. I just wanted to clarify an earlier answer where you were asked...
Do you think we'll ever see a strike among lower-level State Department workers over this? I mean, there's a ton of turmoil in the State Department. Some senior officials left over this. There have been internal memos that were filed that have caused an indefinite delay in a briefing that is meant to be presented to Congress concerning our assessment of whether or not Israel is using the weapons we've given them to commit war crimes. You know, there were like protests from lower level State Department officials outside the White House with masks covering their faces. Trust me, like it's probably not a great time to be working over there. We're going to get a bunch of tell-all books a few years from now. I'll tell you that much.
By someone in the front row about condemnation of what happened in Rafah. And my transcription of what you said is, we have been, I think, very strident in our condemnation about the deaths of innocent civilians. These deaths are not excluded from that. So you do condemn what happened.
Oh, yeah, here's an op-ed from someone who resigned from the State Department that was published today. Thank you, Rav Dubin.
State Department staffer Anel Sheline has resigned in protest, deciding to do it publicly after colleagues convinced her to speak out on their behalf. In an op-ed for CNN, she said her job to advocate for human rights was impossible, saying, quote, whatever credibility the United States had as an advocate for human rights has almost entirely vanished since the war began. And Anel Sheline is joining me now It is her first television interview. Welcome to the program. So let me just hear it in your words. It's a pretty big step to take, especially as a young State Department staffer, just in your first year, to do this and to do it publicly. What was the, if there was, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back?
Thanks so much for having me and for drawing attention to this issue. I think as it became clear what U.S. policy was going to be as far as enabling the ongoing military operations in Gaza, as well as the intentional use of starvation as a weapon, I initially hoped to make a difference inside the State Department through the dissent cables, through internal forums, speaking with supervisors. And then eventually it became clear that from my position inside state, there was really very little that I could do. And so, as you mentioned, I was initially just going to resign quietly. I just didn't want to be part of this government anymore. But as I started to let
fix from the inside idea, it never works. Not in situations like this. The Department of State's too big. And ultimately, like, the Department of State acts in the interests of the presidential administration. You know, it's a pretty, like, top-down affair for the most part, at least in general strategy.
We certainly condemn the loss of life here, but there is an investigation going on, and we want to make sure that the Israelis have a chance to do that in a fair, transparent, credible way. Look, I know what you want me to say. I get it. There should be no civilians killed. I'm not going to stand...
Yeah, all right, you namby-pamby bleeding heart liberals. I know what you want. You want a completely unrealistic outcome. I know what you want. You want 0 people dead. Well, I'm going to contrast the real world, which I live in, with your crazy, high-minded fantasy that could never actually come true, thereby giving the impression that any concerns whatsoever about Israel's or our behavior is motivated by some kind of pie-in-the-sky fantasy of a completely peaceful world, and not by, I don't know, very obvious inconsistencies in our, like, stated policy and what Israel is being allowed to do, you know?
Stand up here and make an excuse for any single individual civilian being killed. There's no excuse for it. It should not happen. Now, it does happen in war. It happens sometimes deliberately, and sometimes it happens by tragic
Like,
mistake.
imagine this is happening after the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, right? And a journalist is like, hey, that was pretty fucked up. And Kirby is like, now I think nobody should have died. I know what you want from me. You want me to say, it's like, it's so obvious what this language represents if you think about it in any historical context at all. You know? How, like, it is gaslighting to the extent that it's like, oh no, actually your perception of events, you're being motivated by this high-minded idealism. You know, I'm right there with you on wanting to prevent civilian casualties. It's just I can't deal with your unrealistic completely unachievable goals. And it's so brazen. Yeah, this type of language could be used to justify the Kent State massacre. I mean, this type of language is typically used by liberal regimes to accomplish the same outcomes that fascist regimes do, which is the fascist will take pride in the horrors that they bring about, and the liberal will say, oh, well, this was an unavoidable necessity, and don't get me wrong, I think it's terrible, I'm right there with you, but let's not forget that there was no other way. Yeah, we're good. We're good. It's been long enough. You know, you can watch this forever. We're good. I think we're good. This community note from Elizabeth Warren. The Israeli bombing of a refugee camp inside a designated safe zone is horrific. Israel has a duty to protect innocent civilians and Palestinians seek shelter in Rafah. Just weeks after the ICJ ruled that Israel was plausibly committing genocide in Gaza, Massachusetts Senator Warren voted for an additional $14 billion in U.S. aid for Israel's war effort. Nice. We're going to get so much of that shit, man. There are going to be so many Democratic politicians who are like, yes, look, we hear you, we see you, what happened was awful. And it's going, and they were all going to like full-throatedly have defended Israel up until like the party line said otherwise. Now, I don't think there's any recovering for this for the Dems. Like, it's whole generations of voters being abused, let alone lied to. I mean, it like trust is pretty much shot. You know, I think that like there was a period of time after the sort of like because for a while the worst excesses of American foreign brutality fell on the shoulders of the Republicans, right? I mean, Barack Obama continued the war in the Middle East broadly with drone strikes and what have you. But drone strikes are like a namby-pamby, you know, no boots in the ground kind of way of continuing the two proper invasions that were begun by George Bush. Not to say they're good, just saying that optically, at least, they're more dainty. Hands off, yeah. And then, of course, prior to that, you had Clinton, and you know, I defend the bombing of Yugoslavia, and before that, and it's on and on, right? But like, this is the first time in our politically active lifetimes, I would say, that a Democratic administration has not only done bad things to this extent, like a war or war crimes or whatever, but has so aggressively defended it. Again, I would actually say that in a lot of ways, our handling and optics here are significantly worse than the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan, as evidenced by the fact that, for one, George Bush was super popular when he did those invasions. People wanted Osama bin Laden dead. And for two, even though it was obviously bullshit and we lied the whole way, you know, it was done with this like rhetoric of winning the hearts and minds of the Iraqi people, of the Afghanistanian people, you know, of like introducing democracy to the Middle East. Again, total bullshit. Not saying any of that was true. Total horseshit. But at the same time, you know, at the very least, it's like commitment to a high-minded ideology, even if it's a fake one, fake commitment. With what's going on now with Israel, like, Netanyahu is just a bloodthirsty fascist. The IDF are bloodthirsty fascists. They don't have that high-minded idealism, not even a pretense of it. They're pretty open about wanting genocide. They talk about it. They gloat about it. They post propaganda alluding to it and directly, you know, supporting it. And we directly defend that. So in a lot of ways, like, the mask is kind of completely off. You know, I don't know what the closest equivalent to this could be, but yeah, this is definitely like a faith lost moment for at least the younger generation. It's a lot of Israeli society, really. Yeah, and previous presidents understood this. You know, Israel never should have been created in its form, and even like now, as it does exist, we have given it way the fuck too much power and credence. As you say, liberalism is just the moderate wing of fascism. Yep. Do you think the Dems can have a shift leftward like the Republicans went rightward? I mean, they did with Bernie Sanders, but that's not really relevant to what's going on right now. It's not really relevant to this dynamic. There's nothing the Biden administration can do at this point, I don't think, to undo the harm that they've done. Why does the door keep opening and closing? What are the cats doing? The cats aren't doing anything. The cats aren't doing anything at all. That was the window. Oh. Not enough people care for it to ruin the Dems. I disagree, man. This is not at all good for the Democrats. Like, not even a little bit. The alienation of young people is doing them a massive disservice. This is really bad politically speaking. And the crazy thing is that for the most part, it really is just this. Biden's administration could have been borderline passable. It could have been like a bitter pill to swallow for young progressives. I know a lot of people on the left don't like Biden. Okay. I certainly don't. Now less than ever. But you would have taken his like wins with workers' rights, the NLRB, unions, and you could have gone like, okay, all right, you know, better than Trump. Okay, let's go. We don't really have a metric of comparison for the Gaza thing. I was unironically starting to be pro-Biden for his work stuff until this. Yeah, I got that awesome Dark Brandon mug like just a few months before October 7th, and now I just feel bad when I drink from it. That nice period of time during which it was like, yeah, man, most labor-friendly president for a century. Hold on, Ruben. Ruben, have you ever considered the possibility that I have a job? Did you know that? All right. Now, what was so important that you had to interrupt stream? Why do you look so sleepy? There we go. Possibly because he is sleepy. Why do you hold him like that all the time? Because it's cute. Yeah, now you're quiet, huh? Now you're quiet, huh? Do we eat him? Wait. Yes, I was a lot more optimistic about the outcome of the election before October 7th. That was not a good day. Justin Trudeau's immigration minister tells Zionists, I don't want your vote. That would be pretty shocking if that was the actual thing that he said. Did he say that?
And I don't want the vote of someone that thinks that legitimate criticism of the Netanyahu government that I share equates to picking on Jews in this country. And
that's not what a Zionist is. I like how this person also truncated the statement. Justin Trudeau's immigration minister says to supporters of Israel, I don't want your vote. That's not what he said.
Targeting them. If those people have that type of thinking, I don't want their vote.
Zionists are so fucking deranged, dude. Holy shit. Netanyahu absolutely wants Trump back in power, yes. All right, okay, let's wrap it up. What is this? Shooting between Egyptian and Israeli personnel near Rafah kills one Egyptian. Oh! Okay. The competent authorities are investigating the death of a member of an Egyptian security team in a shooting near the Rafah border zone. Okay. All right. Uh-huh. You know, shooting at what led to this? Tensions across the border. We don't know much yet. Okay. This has happened before, I believe. Yes, it's not the first time this has happened. It's just that tensions have been ramping up. An Egyptian policeman shot and killed 2 members of the IDF manning a guard post. Why? Israeli manhunt for the shooter. Killed an Israeli soldier, injured 2 others. Egypt and Israel will probably try to play this down. I mean, probably better than war.
Well, in the past hour, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken about that airstrike at Parliament.
Despite the maximum efforts...
That's just a general news story. Okay, well, please intervene. I don't think so. It's not going to happen. Israel has already censored it domestically, and Biden is refusing to comment on it so far. The Israeli government has censored all info about the Egyptian soldier killed in an exchange of fire with Israeli soldiers near Rafah, U.S. officials tell me. Biden administration considers the incident extremely sensitive politically and wants to avoid addressing it publicly, I'm told. Are liberals' fecklessness going to be responsible for the end of democracy? I mean, many such cases, right? Not the first time it's happened. Right now, things are extremely tense between Egypt and Israel, and the Egyptian security forces are somewhat boiling. Yeah, I don't think the U.S. government would let, like, war happen between 2 ostensibly allied nations, but I don't know, man. It's been a powder keg for a while, and it's not like Egypt likes Israel very much. Wait, another one died? Oh. A second Egyptian soldier has died after the border shootout. Okay. Succumbed to his wounds. I'm more worried about Iran. You shouldn't be. Iran is a far more sane actor in the region than Israel is, and possibly more than Egypt is. Same shooting, though? Same shooting. Reports initially censored, then later confirmed by Israel's military. Iran armed terrorist dog. Yeah? Egypt is scarier than Iran at the moment. No, I agree, yeah. I think Iran is a more rational actor. As if the U.S. never funds terrorists. Yeah, I mean, Israel is a terrorist state, so you've got that going for it, I guess. Who is Egypt aligned with? Us. They're a military dictatorship that we maintain an alliance with because we want continued access to the Suez Canal. They've sent 3 divisions to the border with Israel so far, and now the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood is publicly calling for war. Is it true that Israel financed Hamas, or was that just a spook? Well, it has promoted Hamas in the sense that Netanyahu's government has, like, cleared a path for Hamas to be the ruling power in the Gaza Strip. It funded Hamas in the sense that one of the predicate organizations to Hamas, before it was like the terrorist group, received funding from the Israeli government, or possibly from Netanyahu's cabinet. I forget which. It's not as simple as Netanyahu just gave them a briefcase full of money to do more like Islamic terrorism. So it's the U.S. funded the Mujahideen, then they became the Taliban kind of deal. Yeah, kind of. You know, it's a little in that ballpark, I would say. Tanks and air defenses in those divisions are definitely not for crowd control. Can I get an article on the divisions that Egypt has sent to the border? Let me see if I can find one. I'm seeing a lot of information about the shooting. Do you think there's going to be a war between Egypt and Israel? Again, I don't think America would let that happen. Egypt is a military dictatorship that persistently impoverishes its own people. You know, it's not a great country, folks. I don't think they would be so I don't think they would be so irrational as to push in that direction. I think that would be like a pretty crazy thing to do. That being said, the Egyptian military is not the Egyptian military is not like entirely cold and calculating. There are other political forces at work there, right? So I mean, I don't know enough to like definitively claim whether it's a 2% or a 5% or whatever. No, yeah, Egypt is complicit in the genocide of the Palestinians, 100%. Egypt also just has like a lot of power in the region. Control over the Suez Canal is a massive deal, you know? Like controlling the Suez Canal, it gives you just by virtue of you. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we've forced Israel and Egypt to get along, because we don't want regional instability. Israel asked Qatar to give money to Hamas and help them reach them. I think I remember reading that. Israel drove suitcases stuffed with cash into Gaza. Ah, suitcases full of cash. There was some other. I remember reading up on this. I don't remember the details. Egypt has also largely diversified where it gets its weapons from and made their own arms manufacturing, so the U.S. doesn't have that much leverage. It would be very difficult to deal with Egypt if they ended up becoming belligerent, you know? Like, making sure we're on good terms with Egypt is probably even more important than making sure we're on good terms with Israel. We really, 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 really don't want to lose the Suez Canal. And it's not like we could just invade Egypt, you know? Egypt child labor with children as young as 5. I have no idea what that has to do with what we're talking about. Just heard Egypt and just like that leapt to the top of your mind. The Egyptian economy was really strained by the Houthis. They definitely don't want to sever ties to the U.S. right now. No, I mean, they benefit from the alliance. Didn't we lose the canal to the Houthis? No, the Suez Canal still sees use, just not as much as before. How much presence does Egypt have in the Middle East as a political bloc? I think a lot of Middle Eastern Arabs, there's like some conflict there because Egypt is a big and powerful country with a lot of influence, but I also don't think a lot of Middle Eastern Arabs think of Egypt as being like them. You know, Arab is a pretty broad category. Egypt is completely dependent on Saudi oil money. The only reason Egypt's economy is in shambles is because it's run by incompetence. Managing the Suez Canal should be like a guaranteed, like economic stabilizer forever, basically. Less incompetence and more corruption. You know, I mean, yeah, I guess tomato, tomato, but yeah. At any rate, Egypt has a massive military, so they, you know, we do want to maintain a good relationship with them, if for no other reason than because it would be difficult to course correct if things went poorly. I like the Egyptian Armed Forces Wikipedia page because Egypt is such an ancient civilization that the founding date has 3150 BC, Ancient Egypt. 305 BC, Ancient Egypt, Ptolemaic. 868, 935, 969, 1171, 1250, and then the most recent, 1820. Yeah, they got like a million guys, you know. And we provide them a bunch of aid. The Guardian is going fully against Israeli propaganda. This is an opinion article. Okay, we're going to do this one time because I hate it when people say this. If you guys want to make a statement about a new or like any kind of news site or organization, you should make sure that it's not an opinion article first, because the opinion article, like, they let it get published, but it's not necessarily representative of the views of the organization as a whole. Is that true? I didn't know Egyptian Arabic was the most standardized form of their language. I guess that makes sense, considering the size of the country. Do they state that, or is it assumed? That's not true at all, lol. What are you talking about? It says opinion right here. I highlighted it. The Guardian has let some disgusting opinion articles slide, though. I mean, yeah, that's the case with all kinds of news orgs. Ugh. Egyptian Arabic is not the closest to the standard Arabic. Standard is more leaning to the Levant and Iraq. I mean, Egypt has part of the Levant. I guess. I don't know. The J and the G sound. All right, okay. You all know more about Arabic than I do. All right, okay. Is there any good news out there? Yeah, you know, what if we did like any of that, huh? Like even a little bit? I'm so fucking out of it today, man. Minnesota bans gay and trans panic defense. Woo! 19th to do so. That means 31 states still have it. Woo! Nice. Yeah, somebody linked this very aggressively early on, like over and over. Panic? Yeah, the what? It's not really a law in the books. It's just that there have been many cases of people murdering or abusing their partners when they realize they're trans or whatever. And then they go to court for it. And it's like, oh, well, I was so surprised that they had a dick. You know, what else was I supposed to do? And then they get off. So now that's not allowed there, which is good. Or a gay person. No, I haven't checked it yet, Tempest. I can check it. I just don't really know what to say about it. Tim Pool brought Trump in studio? Holy shit, he's desperate. Man, Donald Trump campaigning in 2016 would have never deigned to fucking talk to internet celebrities. Holy shit. Well, wait, that's the whole thing. Stream doesn't go on that much longer. I gotta have a actual chunk of time dedicated to that. Jesus. They're both desperate. Well, Tim Pool isn't desperate. You know, he makes his money. He gets his paychecks. Harrison Butker doubles down on his commencement speech. This shit is so boring, man. There is genuinely nothing on earth to me that is less that is less interesting than like the Christian persecution complex. It's absolutely wild, you know? I every single time it's very repetitive. Nothing new gets said.
It is now. Over the past few days, my beliefs, or what people think I believe, have been the focus of countless discussions around the globe. At the outset, many people expressed a shocking level of hate, but as the days went on, even those who disagreed with my viewpoints shared their support for my freedom of religion.
What? I just saw exclusively people going after him for being a chauvinist. What is it? This is like... What are you waffling about?
In my 7 years in the NFL, I've become familiar with the positive and negative comments, but the majority of them revolve around my performance on the field. But as to be expected, the more I've talked about what I value most, which is my Catholic faith, the more polarizing I have become.
It's why are these guys such pussies always? They never stand by any of their actual statements. The left doesn't do this. If a figure who is left-leaning goes out there and says, yeah, the bourgeoisie, blah, 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 you know, I think that the workers need to rise up, whatever, and then they get in trouble for it because it's politically, you know, polarizing, and they go out and talk about it. They don't do this, like, this indeterminate, like, non-committal, yeah, people canceled me for having opinions or whatever. They just say it. They continue to say it. This level of cowardly, this guy, he did a full, like, you know, 20-minute speech on fuck Joe Biden, he's not a real Catholic, a woman's place is in the home, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, lefties stand on business. But these guys, every time this happens, every single fucking time, they go out there and then they play up the persecution complex, and they're completely disingenuous about what they said. Criticize the tux. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, he would need to move around a bit, but like, what do you want from me?
It's a decision I've consciously made and one I do not regret at all. If we have truth and charity, we should trust in the Lord's providence and let the Holy Ghost do the rest of the work. Our love for Jesus, and thus our desire to speak out, should never be outweighed by the longing of our fallen nature to
You can barely see the shirt. Yeah, it's called a double-breasted suit.
be loved by the world. Glorifying God and not ourselves should always remain our motivation, despite any pushback or even support. I lean on those closest to me for guidance, but I can never forget that it is not people, but Jesus Christ who I am trying to please.
That's it? Okay. Yeah, this is boring as shit, man. I fucking hate religion. I don't like religion. But I was to say I hate religious people, and then I'm going to get a bunch of DMs from people who, like, I don't know, casually go to church like once a year and be like, why do you hate me personally? Shut up. I don't. Stop fucking making this about you. Your persecution complex extends to the... Boban. Hey. Ooh. What's the game plan, Mr. Man? Oh, he flopped. He flopped. He flopped. Why do you look so sullen and downtrodden when I hold you? You're so active. Jury deliberation in Trump trial likely starts tomorrow. I feel like people aren't taking this seriously enough. Yeah, I haven't covered anything from the Trump trial, like, at all, because frankly, look, okay, I understand that a big part of my job is to keep you appraised, and frankly, it's good content, but I can't in good conscience, like, hype you guys up for something that I have no faith in as a vehicle for justice, you know? Now, it is entirely possible that there's going to be some, like, insane turnabout, and it's like, oh, actually, yeah, we find them guilty and 12 years in prison. It's like, whoa, you know, holy shit. Oh, I guess I should have been covering that. But it was always the weakest case. I mean, do you want the, yeah, I mean, do you want the Cliff Notes here? On May 28th, the defense gave a 3-hour closing argument. Trump lawyer Todd Blanche claimed Trump had nothing to do with checks, which were written by Trump's sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. Blanche questioned why prosecution didn't call Don Jr. and Eric as witnesses, despite the fact they signed payment checks to Cohen. Blanche also showed an email revealing Jeffrey McConaughey sought approval from both Donald Jr. and Eric. Blanche also questioned Cohen's honesty, noting that AT&T phone records and AT&T witness testimony showed Cohen didn't answer a phone call, which he allegedly interrupted. Prosecution had closing arguments as well. Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass described David Pecker's testimony as utterly damning. Steinglass noted that some key parts of Daniels' story were proven true. Steinglass also noted how the defense appeared to acknowledge Trump knew about the Daniels payment as early as 2017. Cohen's shoes, top data, yeah. So like it's like what do you call it? Fucking boring is the thing. There are legal nerds who probably care about this a lot more. I feel like you're too harsh about this trial from a legal standpoint. He gave campaign money to a friend illegally. Yeah, but he's done a million things illegally. He fucking tried to overthrow the government, man. And by the way, the Trump-appointed judge who was overseeing the Florida case on the documents case at Mar-a-Lago, that shit's been shuttered. Oh, you know, like that's been thrown back months. That's not going to be relevant for the election now. So it's like, you know, if I end up being wrong, I end up being wrong. But as we all know, especially with powerful and wealthy people, this stuff is never representative of what the justice system looks like for regular people. You know, like in any other set of circumstances, somebody who is facing this much heat would be thrown away for a long time. But in this case, you know, slippery Don gets to dance his way around whatever. And it's not even because he's competent or smart or whatever else. It's just he was a fucking president, man. I mean, in one of these cases, he literally, how is it not a conflict of interest for the judge to be presiding over your trial, to have been appointed by you during the term where you did the thing the trial is over? It's ridiculous. Yeah, until the verdict is in, there's just not that much to talk about, you know? And by the way, if he ends up, you know, if the jury deliberation concludes and they put forward something big, you know, you're still going to have to wait on appeal or whatever. But I mean, his defense was astonishingly bad, though. Doesn't matter. I think so. Well, I guess we'll see. The fuck is this? Louisiana poised to introduce its own Don't Say Gay law. Okay. We back? Did a rock hit my the YouTube server? That's what I said, MX Dizzy. Don't Say Gay is in vogue, apparently. You know, I know stuff like this is really bad, but it is worth remembering in spite of it. The fact that nothing is changing the overall demographic trends towards Gen Z and Gen Alpha being gay as shit. You know? Like, it feels like they're fighting off a tide here. Democratic Senator Royce Duplessis stated the bill could negatively impact LGBTQ youth who already have mental health challenges. I don't like the way this stuff is discussed very often. I am so fucking out of it today. I probably woke up sick today too from whatever hit me yesterday. I guess I just didn't. Yeah, people in chat asked about this. Like, I have nothing to say about it. It's a fucking meme. Pope Francis used a homophobic slur when referring to gay men in a private meeting where he was talking about allowing like gay priests, you know? I personally think it's funny, and I think it's a great diva moment, personally, you know? Now just the Pope? Well, there is kind of like a bell curve where the F slur is exclusively used by either the gayest or the most homophobic people. Which slur, though? I think it's the F slur, but for Italians. You think it was the F slur? No, what it literally says right here. It begins with an F in Italian, too. It's the same one. Italian media reported multiple people present at the meeting disclosed Francis was opposed to the idea of admitting gay men into Catholic seminaries in preparation for the priesthood, saying there was already too much frociagina in seminaries. See, to me, this is like a Queen moment, too, because he's saying there's already too much of it in seminaries, right? So he's like, you want to let gay people into the priesthood? Come on, there are already a bunch of homos. Like, it's funny. I like it. Why are you saying it? I say it in English. What, are you gonna, what, I'm sorry, how many dicks do I have to suck? Oh, my apologies. Have I not earned the Italian F slur pass? I'm gayer than the average Italian. A high bar, I know, but I think I've cleared it. I thought they talk in Latin, not Italian. They don't talk in Latin like conversationally. That's just the holy text. I don't think they like chat in Latin. Are you gayer than the average Greek, though? No. The guy who makes all the Pope's clothes is gay? Oh, that's true.
St. Peter's Basilica. Filippo Sorcinelli makes clothing for some of the most important religious figures in the world. His stoles, chasubles, and headgear for bishops are in high demand throughout the Vatican, with orders coming in from cardinals, bishops, and even
Orders for the Pope are made by the Office for Liturgical Celebrations of the
God damn, man. Pretty crazy, huh? You imagine having that job? This is one of the few, like, medieval jobs left, right? Like, oh, what's your job? Yeah, I'm the tailor for the Pope. It's like, oh, okay, that's probably a job that existed 1,000 years ago, yeah.
Supreme Pontiff before they make their choice.
it's not
My style is inspired
Right,
by
the
the
fit.
early
Unfortunately, I think the suit he's wearing doesn't fit him very well. So, you know, maybe his talents are towards the, you know, the clergy and not himself.
days of the church.
far from Rimini. Attention to detail.
Here, also ornamenting the entire edge in the same style.
Filippo has made around 20 garments for Pope Francis and more than 50 for the late Pope Benedict XVI.
God damn, dude's lined up career-wise. Ironic, he could drip out others, but not himself. In fairness, the skills involved in constructing a papal outfit are probably not the same as, like, you know, what he would dress in day to day. You know, it's a very different fashion archetype. It's dressmaking. It is closer to dressmaking, that's for sure. This guy is probably dressing modestly to not sin. I don't think that's the case. You know. Does he do any secular clothing? I don't know. I don't know. You guys ask me just you ask me anything. You know, you just ask me any old things. I can't. You people are crazy, is what you are. Did you watch the new Jenny Nicholson video? Yeah, I did. Is it sunny outside? I'd like to go find out, man. I feel like garbage today. I need to drink more water is what I need to drink. That's your fault because you talk like you know about everything. No, I don't. I actually, like, I hedge my bets pretty frequently. People just assume that I think I know everything because I speak confidently. I will say, though, that one skill that I do have is that if I'm in public with a group of people and we're walking around and trying to do something and nobody knows where to go, I will go in a random direction confidently and people follow me. Moses did the same shit. Wasn't he lost in the desert for like 40 years? That's just what you got to do, man. It's better to keep moving. Yeah, I saw Mexico is joining South Africa's case for genocide. Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm definitely out of it today. Very unfortunate, but on the plus side, it's not like a, you know, unknown variable or an accident. I know exactly why it is. Just a consequence of poor sleep and dietary habits. I'm going to try to be a little bit better about that today. I apologize. I'm going to send you guys off. We're at 3, you know, shorter stream. Honest to God, man, I'm not going to lie. A lot of it is just the fucking Israel Rafah shit. I'm running out of my job, right? My job as, like, what I try to do, at least. It's infotainment. I don't shy away from that term. Everyone who does is a coward and is dishonest. It's all infotainment, right? You take the news, you try to find ways to deliver it or analyze it, engage with it, add to it, whatever, right? Like, you take information, you try to make it yours presentationally, in a constructive and you know, a transformative sense, and you make people want to watch it. That's the whole point. And I'm running out of way. It's you watch Kirby or Blinken or whoever else just like transparently lie over and over again. I think it's mostly those State Department press briefings that get me, because watching like 40 minutes of them just obviously straightforwardly lying and like seemingly like grinning while they do it too, like they know and we know they know and they know that we know they know, and it's just exhausting. You know, they do hate us. They hold us in contempt. They really do. It's just exhausting. Zionist, not Jewish, Panthera. Honestly, Jews are the most involved but least proportionally powerful group in this entire dynamic, right? Netanyahu, like, yeah, she's Jewish, but like that motherfucker is not motivated by religious faith or like love of the culture or whatever. He's just a fucking fascist. In America, it's like almost entirely Christians fronting it, you know? Like when you talk about, oh, so-and-so Jewish person is a Zionist, a lot of them are just Zionists because they went to like their birthright trip and they've been fed a lot of like, oh, Hamas wants you dead stuff, you know? But like the militant Zionism is almost always a agnostic or Christian fascism or their liberal accomplices, you know? Jews are often invoked, rarely directly involved. The most direct Jewish involvement I've seen in the whole fucking affair were the Jewish protesters on at the college encampments that the media fucking ignored over and over, you know? They're having their little Jewish holiday meals or whatever. I can't remember what they are, you know, Seder, you know, and then there's like one loud, brash Jewish Zionist guy trying to tear it all apart. Hasidic Jews seem kind of like, yeah, okay, with Hasidic Jews, I mean, they're a lot more, orthodox, you know? Like, yeah, sure, okay. But I'm telling you guys, like, especially because a lot of the involvement is like, you know, younger people are pro-Palestinian or at least anti-Israel. And a lot of them are Jewish. A lot of them are progressive. No, I get you, irony. I get you. I know, I've seen it, Nest Scissors. All right. I'll read donations next stream because I hate you. I am going to send you guys over to... When did Liv Agar start streaming again? When did that happen? You know what? I'm going to send you over to Liv because she's cute and funny on Twitter. I didn't have a better funny explanation. Just go on over there and don't be weird, okay? Is that a new shirt? Thank you for noticing. She plays EU4? Ugh, okay, whatever. Just get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? I'll see you tomorrow. Where is the button? Da, 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 da. I think I have to add this one. Host Twitch. Liv Agar. All right, I'll see you guys soon.